We
What is
go.
the crack, YouTubers? As always, Skarnir's having technical difficulties. Um, Welcome to another Hobby Hangout. Thanks for joining us. On this week, we have myself, Skarnir, as usual, and we have the Kaiser from the Modelling from Advantage channel. What's the crack, bud? How are you keeping?
Yeah, doing well, thank you. And you?
Well, apart from trying to bash the grots to get the worky gubbins going, um, yeah, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. We're getting there. It's just coming together. It's coming together. I had some technical difficulties earlier on the last week where a hard drive died and everything got wiped, and but we've made it. We're only like 10 minutes in, which is nothing new with me. But we're getting there. Is everything all right in the comments section? Can you hear everything? Can you see us, please? Please. We'll see how it's going. Hey, Garn, everyone. Well, there's a lot of people here. Mrs. Skarnir as well. The
Mrs.
Kaiser.
Skarnir.
Mrs. Skarnir is here as well. Yeah, she's keeping an eye. So what's the crack, Kaiser? What have you been up to hobby-wise? Tell us a bit about yourself and about your channel for any of my subscribers who don't know your channel and the guys. Uh,
Um, yeah, well, if I was to describe my channel in one sentence, it's basically two idiots fumbling through a war game on camera is generally what we do. We play a lot of different games, historical as well as fantasy, science fiction. The biggest four that we do are probably Warhammer, Kill Team, Bolt Action, and Flames of War. We play a lot of others besides. We're a real mixed bag of a channel.
nice. Good. Yeah, it's some good stuff, man. I like it. Yeah, there's a few bits and pieces that you... Like, I'm subscribed to you. And there's a few bits and pieces that you have done, like some of the historical wargaming stuff that's piqued my interest. But we were just discussing a little bit beforehand. Um, I don't know. It's like, is it sort of like a thing that happens when you like get into your 30s? You start sort of looking at various sort of historical war games, kind of. You know what I mean? You start to broaden your horizons, or the saying that comes to mind is not putting all of my wargaming eggs into one basket anymore. I'm sort of starting to, place them
Spread your wings a
elsewhere.
bit.
Yeah, spreading it out a bit.
Yeah.
You know.
Um, I don't know. You say in your 30s, mate. I mean, that's a bit of a distant memory to me.
Well, you don't look it.
Yeah, I had the misfortune. I'm actually quite a bit younger than I look. I'm only 44, but I went grey in my early 20s. I've always looked massively older. But I know what you mean. Certainly, I think that there's things like Warhammer. I think you come in and out of at different ages.
Go
I
through
always find,
phases. Yeah.
yeah, I find it quite interesting because for a period, I really didn't like fantasy and science fiction games, especially stuff like Warhammer. I was like, this is just not realistic. It's just not credible. It just doesn't work for me. And then I sort of sought out increasingly complicated historical sets of war games.
Mm.
Then as I got older, I was like, I don't enjoy these games. I think I enjoy these games, but they're too complicated. We're playing with little toy soldiers on a bit of green base. There's nothing realistic about what's going on here. Why
Yeah.
search for realism? And now I increasingly like games. I don't know if you've seen Gale Force 9 little game, Tanks. It's basically Car Wars World War II. It's a very simple game. It takes about 3/4 of an hour to play, and it's a right laugh. You roll sixes to win, it's like, that's it. That's what I want.
Well, I suppose, yeah, there's... I can understand what you mean. Like, there are some, like, super complex games. There's some guys who have been watching, even where they use tokens. Is there specific, like, hex token-based games? There'd be, like, GMT games where they'd be
Oh, yeah, yeah. The board
redoing...
games.
Yeah, as board games, and, you know what I mean? There's a lot of crossover, in my eyes, between, like, board games for like historical war games and then tabletop war gaming. There's a bit of crossover there. You know what I mean? You started off with Risk and you worked your way up to like tabletop war gaming, but obviously like the whole hobby aspect of it. But yeah, like there's some dedicated guys out there. Like I didn't realize like solo wargaming was a big thing as well with some folk where they'll set up a battle and they'll fight both sides for like weeks, months even.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, absolutely. But when I was in my teens, I used to play 6 mil Napoleonics with a crew of people, and that was like 6 players every Sunday for months. You'd write orders like on a clipboard, do you know what I mean? And then you'd have a little aide de camp model would ride off to the regiment to change what it was going to do. At the time, I thought that was amazing. Now I was like, mate, we spent 3 months playing one bleeding game.
Yeah, but that sounds perfect to me. You know what I mean? And, you know, I've always been drawn by like campaign games. You know what I mean? Games that are tied in together. You know what I mean? So I'm currently doing a little bit of something like that with BattleTech. I'm playing a campaign with a friend of mine. We're playing BattleTech. I've been playing a lot of BattleTech lately, but I don't know what it is, the allure of it, but I love running. I love running campaign games. I love playing in them where it's, you know, one battle will affect the next. It's like some of your units that are damaged, then you have to try and spend resources and time to repair them, or, you know what I mean? You're then in following battles, you're gonna have to fight with units that aren't 100%, and you literally take the units you had from previous battles and bring them forward. It's like the next mission I have in our BattleTech campaign that I'm doing. I'm doing like a fighting withdrawal. BattleTech, just in case, is it's a science fiction sort of game with giant robots. So people pilot giant
robots hitting each other.
Well, yeah, shooting each other, hitting each other. But it's weird. It's kind of like a historical meets sci-fi game, because it's a bit like if you were playing bolt action with the different eras. I suppose there's like different periods of time. There's different technology bases. So it would be like, you know, your early war German force will be different to like your late war German force, depending on what vehicles are available to them and such. So there's stuff like that where it's like, depending on what faction, you're more likely to have certain vehicles available to you, and then also depending on the period of time, the technology base shifts. So,
and isn't it? It's a civilization where the ability to build new mechs is kind of dying or dead, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like that at the start, and then there's sort of like a renaissance, a resurgence, and then technology changes through the eras.
I did play original BattleTech. I don't know whether it's still the same. I've still got a lot of plastic models in a box downstairs on the little hexagons that are about 1 inch across and about 2 inches tall.
Yeah,
Is it the same stuff?
Yeah, definitely. You could, like, if you rocked up, you could literally use those exact same miniatures and play a game with them. I think it's slightly changed over the years, but that's another thing I'm liking about the rule set is it's become more refined over the years. It hasn't been like reset and then starting from scratch and reset. You know what I mean? It's sort of being built up and refined. But from what I gather from some old schoolers coming back into the fold, it's recognizable apparently to like even people who played it way back.
You still have a data sheet with 1 million circles on it where you get shot.
Yeah, look, I'll show you the. Yeah, it's the same. You know exactly. It's like armor, critical hits, and then you know your components.
Heat tracker.
Yeah. All your heat. Pretty much. Don't mean to. Sorry, I'm going on a bit of a mad one about BattleTech. I'm just excited about it. You know what I mean? You know when you get into a game, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, absolutely.
With people cracking on in the comments section. Right, so what do you have on the table, Kaiser? Do you have anything for hobby-wise? I have a war boss that's been sent to me. I'll try not to ignore it.
A war boss has been sent to you? Mate, you're in business if people send you free stuff.
Oh, well, it's one better than that. Apparently, this is me in orc form. It has been designed.
Oh, and this is part of this new channel. All 4 of you have got one.
Yeah, War Bosses of the Apocalypse. So this is the Skarnir War Boss miniature. It has been 3D printed in resin. It's the first 3D printed resin miniature I've ever gotten me hands on, or indeed seen in the flesh. And I have to say, I'm rather impressed with how it's turned out. I'm rather amazed at how well it's come out. So that's what I have on the table. I'll be doing some of the skin tones. I started on the armor. What have you got on the table yourself for tonight, Kaiser?
On the table. Well, I'm not actually all that set up for streaming, so I'm not at my hobby station. I've had to bring some stuff up with me. So I don't know whether I'll be able to do any painting. I'm going to give it a go. There are a couple of things to show that it's maybe a bit different from some of the stuff you normally got. First would be some American Civil War 10mm. If I just reach over,
Put you on
because I
close
think you
cam.
mentioned something about the American Civil War.
Well, I've been see. It's all you bloody historical wargamers have got me looking at periods of history that I haven't really known much about. So I've been watching a lot of videos on uh, the American Civil War and the early colonial
Oh,
wars and stuff.
this is difficult for me to. I'm not used to using the camera. Here we go. Here we go. Are we focusing? And it's delayed on the live stream, isn't it? So I'm finding this really difficult. Gosh, what a rookie.
No, you're grand. Yeah,
Okay, how are we doing here?
it's getting there. It's getting there. We
We're
can see
getting
that
there.
there's soldiers with American flags. We can see that much.
Oh my days!
you and
Right.
Steve-O
Okay.
can share notes on the joys of autofocus. Which
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm having to do this on my phone, as I say. So I've got a whole bunch of these guys that I've been working on. So I've got about 6 regiments of each. These are from Callistra. They're 10mm. They've got some little commander figures. I don't know whether you'll see those. And we're going to be playing a system called Black Powder, which is a very, very simple system. It's a Rick Priestley rule set, so people who play 40k, it's a lot like was it War Master? That's what it was
yeah,
called.
that's what my friend keeps telling me as well. Yeah, Dame, that it's a lot like the War Master system.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that the system is particularly great, but I heard him being interviewed, and he said that the system that he designed it to play with Perry twins, who are miniature designers, and they have like a 16 by 12 table with hundreds and hundreds of models on, and they spend weeks playing a game. So he needed it's really quite fast play for moving big groups of infantry and so forth. It was like, right, that sounds like the kind of way I want to play. So that's what I've been doing there with the old 10mm ACW.
Well, yeah, I've seen that I've watched videos that the Perry twins have done showing off their setup, and it is rather impressive. And they've even got what was it? I was very jealous of their like draftsman's drawers that draftsmen's would have, or architects, where it would be for those type of drawers for storing like A1 sheets of
Maps and
paper.
stuff.
Yeah, massive like these massive flat.
Yeah.
They're about
Yeah.
3 inches, and it's just
Plan chests, I think they're called.
yeah, just
Because I'm a
shock.
librarian and I've bought them in the past. They're called plan chests.
Plan chests. Yeah, I need to get my
Yeah.
hands on some of them. I need to get a place with
In
some space.
miniatures.
But chocked full of minis
Yeah.
from like
Yeah.
different periods of time, and yeah,
All basically as well.
very
And
interesting.
that if there's a problem with historical gaming, it's basing conventions. Because different rule systems, often basing is quite important for regimental fighting. You need to be consistent between mine and yours and so forth. And you play a different rule system and they've got a different basing convention. And that is a problem. When I got into doing looking at this Black Powder, it's like, okay, I need to be buying both armies and basing them all the same from the beginning. Otherwise, I'm at the mercy of having to change the bases,
You'll run
and
into
that's just
problems down the
horrendous with
line.
stuff like
Yeah.
10mm miniatures.
Yeah, because like I haven't played many historical war games. I think the closest thing to it is I got an introductory game of Bolt Action off of Alessio Cavator, like in Salute one year. That's about it.
All right, yeah.
I haven't dabbled much myself. I think it's partly, you know yourself. You can only have so many war games. You know what I mean? Before you're sort of spreading yourself too thin.
And so many sets of scenery and so much space in your house.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I suppose that could be like the allure. I don't have any like 15mm stuff, but I'm awash with 40k and larger scale things, like 28mm scale. And the stuff takes up like, even just the sprues, they just take up so much space. It's like,
Yeah, definitely.
I can see the allure. But yeah, I've been enjoying, I've gone down a rabbit hole just learning about like the American Civil War, a lot of the early American colonial wars as well. I didn't really know much about, but sort of I'm enjoying that aspect of even just watching people who are doing historical war game and they're talking about, oh, these are the units I'm painting up for the French Indian War, and I'm like, well, what's the French Indian War? And then you go and you'll look into it a bit more, and it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
it's actually it was between the French and the British, and they both had Native Americans on either side, and the various battles that are being fought. So I can see the allure of it. I definitely
But I
can.
think the French Indian Wars has got an appeal. Napoleonics has a kind of a long-standing appeal to war games. It's like a lot of what certainly when I was a kid, that was what you saw being done. That was really quite the spectacle to look at. People with vast collections
Hmm.
and things like Waterloo, Napoleon. You've heard of Napoleon, right?
Yeah.
You know
Ah,
who he
yeah.
was,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what he was about. You see that now. The French Indian Wars is technologically very similar, but it's fundamentally skirmish. There's a couple of regiments in the campaign, and then some native auxiliaries. So it really is a game where you're not being disingenuous to the history by having 60 guys having a fight in the woods.
Yeah.
That's what the French Indian Wars was.
More of sort of a guerrilla war.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why the they form ranger battalions and so forth, and they use the native auxiliaries because it's much more sort of the environment is more of a problem than the enemy soldiers, the logistics, the supply, and the tiny forces involved. And it's a good one for a campaign. But if we, because you mentioned it briefly, I thought it was one's worth going to, and maybe people in the chat got different ideas. Because you were talking about your kind of path as a gamer, and at different points, maybe you like different things, and you talked about campaigns or something you're really interested in the moment
Yeah.
with that. And the appeal of campaigns has always been very, very strong. The problem I have with campaigns is the snowball problem, and it's kind of, when you think about it, why you want to play a campaign is you want to develop and grow a force. Well, as you do that, the other guy that you're playing is not growing as fast if you're winning, and that means the guy who wins the first battle has got an advantage going into the second battle, and a bigger advantage going into the. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
leaving the
It
advantage in
snowballs
the
up.
hands of the better player, and so systems that get around that problem are really quite important, I think. If you run a campaign, so like you mentioned, BattleTech, as long as you have are they called clans in BattleTech? I think they are, aren't they?
Yeah. There's clans in BattleTech, but currently, like the campaigns that I'm playing are sort of more early, early. It's before the clan invasions. So it's sort of early period where technology is rarer. Um,
Right.
like I said, you pick a specific period in the BattleTech universe that you want to play,
Yeah.
and it's being more run kind of the way we're running it is I'm running the mercenary company, and then he's playing the opposing forces. So he's kind of like the GM, sort of.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
creating the contracts for me. He'll give me a couple of contracts at the start, and then he's using the campaign rules and coming up with various missions for me to do, and then primary and secondary objectives, all this type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more of a narrative than a kind of strictly competitive campaign.
Yeah,
It's more
it's
GM and player.
more of a narrative type of play where it's
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that type of thing.
And that way it can work, because what needs to happen as your force grows, develops, and strengthens is that the challenge needs to grow, develop, and strengthen at the same rate.
Yeah,
Which is otherwise is when campaigns often fall apart otherwise, because as I said, the people one player is getting better than the others. And in fact, it's a real bugbear of mine in general is anything in a game system that leverages advantage to the experienced player. So things like, in 40k, for example, the clearest one in that is list building.
yeah,
List building is predicated on knowledge and collection size. The new guy cannot build a good list because he doesn't have the models and he doesn't have the knowledge. And he's going into the game against someone who's better than him at a disadvantage.
So then, what do you propose would be like a good way to get around it? Because I know in certain campaign setting games like Blood Bowl or Necromunda or Gorka Morka, you'll have, I think they're referred to as elastic band sort of mechanics. A bit, I suppose the most simplest analogy you could use is in Mario Kart. Whoever's in the lead doesn't get the blue shells, but the guys in the back get the best boosts. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the best ways to address it is that you take each battle as a separate mission, which doesn't have actually much to do with the total force that you have available. So, say for example, you have a bit like kill team rosters. So it's about you have a roster in kill team, but you don't take the whole roster every time. You only take 100 points into the mission.
Yeah.
So that means is each time you and I play, and kill team was an interesting one. I thought that the campaign mechanics were interesting. They didn't quite work for me, but conceptually, that when you approach the mission, and you just draw from your roster, but you're still balanced in that way. Because my issues with like list building, it's anything that's pre-game. I don't particularly, and I know a lot of people do like that because it allows you to hobby when you're not hobbying, like Magic deck building. People spend far more time building decks than they do playing them. But these are all things I think that just give advantages to experienced players. I'm increasingly prefer the out of the box game experience where it doesn't matter how much you played this before. You get this, and I get that, and these forces are balanced.
But yeah, no, I can understand that. You'd want sort of, yeah, I can get you because the last thing you sort of want, I think we've all probably heard of that's the story before, where it's a case of a new guy is playing against like a veteran player, and the veteran player is only interested in winning and not actually sort of the experience for the new guy to actually, catch the bug and get into it. And I'm sure we've all heard of like, the new guy getting tabled and then losing interest in the hobby because some veteran players can leverage that advantage against people. They're just interested in a win, which is wouldn't be great for the hobby in the long run. You need more people into it.
Yeah,
It's. I suppose it boils down to your personality really and your outlook on the hobby and the community.
yeah. I just suppose my broader point about any kind of pre-game work, in particular, is just putting more advantages in the hands of the experienced player, the more experienced player, who's going to build a better deck or prepare a better list. Whereas if you've all got a kind of fixed deck or whatever to work from, those inherent disadvantages are not exacerbated.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thinking, it's not having decks that bothers me. It's if there's deck building as part of the gameplay, the better the player, who's already more likely to win, he's got a bigger advantage going into it. And that's the kind of stuff I think, because I prefer to have the best games go to the final round. You both roll a dice, and one of you gets a 6, and whoever wins, you both cheer. That's the
It
game
comes down to the
experience
wire. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want every time. And it's hard if you play a game and somebody else doesn't. Even if you give yourself a crap force to start with and you give them a good force, they don't know what they're doing. They're already very likely to lose.
This is very true. Yeah.
You
Especially
know,
with more complex rule sets as well.
yeah, absolutely. And when you're teaching people the game, you often try and introduce the rules as they emerge, but that's often you introduce the rules as they apply to you, not maliciously, but you make that move and then explain how that rule works.
I suppose. Yeah. You. That's inevitable then at that stage. I think that's
Yeah,
probably what you used to see like two beginners playing against each other, and a staffer back in the day explaining the rules as the two beginners sort
yeah,
of learned as they went because they were on the same equal footing in that regard. And
I've
then
been all
there's
very negative today, haven't I? Shall I show you something else then? Something
no,
that's
you haven't
a
been
bit
negative at all. At
different.
all. This is if you think this is negative, oh mate.
um, I'm still getting used to the delay between what I see on the screen and what they're talking. Still a bit disorientating because I'm trying to follow the chat. So another thing I've been working on, so just reach over and show you my sweaty armpits. A little bit of a side project is the modeler and the painter in me is kind of interested in 54mm stuff. I don't know how well these are coming up. So these are
Close
some German.
being 54 mil. Ooh.
Yeah, so this is 135th German infantry. And these are just such a pleasure to paint.
I was literally thinking that as you picked them up. I'm like, if they're a larger scale, it's probably
Yeah,
a more enjoyable experience. I would think.
it's but it's also very interesting because these models that you're looking at now. So I've shown you, I think I've got about 8 of them. So they're about 2 inches tall. They're 54mm, and World War II German infantry. How much do you think that costs? These 8 soldiers, 2 inches tall in plastic, multi-part plastic.
Hey, 20 quid, 25 quid.
If I said that there were £4 from Hobbycraft, would you be surprised?
My God.
Now there
Value.
is a reason for that, is because these models are actually 1974 castings. So
Oh,
they
so
made their money back on this a long time ago.
yeah.
But yeah, for anyone who's kind of painted Space Marines and then got hold of a Primaris Marine thinking, I might not want to rebuild an entire Space Marine army, but these are actually a lot better for painting purposes. They're a lot nicer and easier to paint. These models are fantastic, just as a bit of a palette cleanser. We've actually been working on some skirmish rules for underground in Stalingrad. We might even release them one day. So these are the Soviet ones. These are a much newer kit, and they're definitely more detailed, but they're still only like 12 quid for 12 guys, or something. Maybe 20 quid for 12 guys. And they're still, you get the weapons are all separate and the arms are separate. You're making them up.
But do you think the pricing expectation for miniatures and kits is different for historical wargamers than it is for, we'll say, like the more new wave sort of wargamers? And by new wave, I mean like Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, that type of thing.
I don't know. I mean, I think these guys, what you don't get with these is you don't get a comprehensive range.
Yeah.
That the German kit that I showed you that's from 1970, they still make that kit. They do about 4 or 5 different boxes of German infantry, which go up to about 20 quid, some of the newer ones. But if you want a winter German with a flamethrower, they don't make one. And they're not going to, because they're more intended to be accessories for the model kits, for the model tanks and so forth.
Yeah.
As in, you look at war games companies, they need to provide the whole range rather than just the bits that sell well.
I get
And
you,
that's
yeah.
when they make, so even Games Workshop still has kind of a lot of resin stuff in its ranges to pad out the range because it's cheaper to make them in small numbers. And I think hobby companies really struggle with that. Is that what keeps the prices up is the fact that they're trying to make the ranges comprehensive and have lots of different ranges. If you play World War II, mate, you Germans, they're your buddies, right? That's all you got. There are Italians and Romanians and so forth, but there's a very limited pool of models that they actually need to provide. But when you start talking about fantasy or science fiction setting, they need to provide hundreds of sculpts. And I
Yeah,
think
so I suppose the potential miniatures is pretty much endless then at that stage once you're
yeah, and
once you go into it.
that makes it expensive for them to do the range. Like does Games Workshop make a fortune on its basic boys set? Well, it probably paid for it within the first week or something. But how many mega knobs do they sell? And then how many particular war boss models, etc., etc. It gets like a smaller and smaller market, but the production cost is the same. and that's probably got a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I suppose like the economics of it ties in, which I can safely say I know very little about.
Because even companies not Games Workshop, they follow like Mantic or Flames of War. They seem to have a very similar model range. They have a core range that's in the multi-part plastic sprues,
Yeah, the higher
and then out
production volume stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and then outside of that, their range is completed with highly priced resin and metal kits. Um, and everybody looks at a resin and metal kit and it's just like, why are we still getting this stuff in the 21st century? Because they just can't make money making a plastic sprue with this, which is a shame.
Yeah, I suppose it ties in realistically with their volume of sales as to whether you're going to see a plastic kit of it and why some of them are still in metal. Um, like I was reading an interview with the Perry twins very recently, and they were talking about how historical wargaming, a lot of it's sort of it's metal, but it's sort of produce on demand.
Yeah,
A lot of it.
yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware of that at all.
Like there's still plenty of hobby companies doing historical stuff in metal, and it's like a guy with a shed and a like a little hand spun centrifuge. Plug it in the wall job,
Yeah.
cast 12 models uh, in a go. Yeah, I actually had a bit of an odd experience with that during the lockdown. Not quite that, but related to that sort of one man in his shed. I don't know if you ever come across Ainsley Castings. They do like resin dungeons, sewers.
I haven't really dipped me toe into actually purchasing historical wargamers. I've sort of got interest on, you know what I mean? I'm sort of
Yeah,
kind of, I suppose you could describe it as like I'm on the outside looking in and sort of going, ooh, what's this? What's this? But
yeah,
I haven't pulled the trigger yet.
yeah. Oh, you definitely should. You definitely should. So Ainsley Casting, it's more sort of D&D scenery sets and so forth more than anything else. If you want a 3D dungeon in resin and so forth, that's the place to get it. Anyway, so during the lockdown, I've got a load of Ainsley's dungeon, and I wanted some more bits for this 54 mil stuff that I'm doing here for the skirmish game that we've been playing. And so I've gone to his website, I pay my money, and it takes my money, and then a couple of weeks pass, and then I think to myself, this is one guy with a website. If he ever died, would this website just keep taking people's money? Would
Ah, yeah.
anybody else ever know or ever be able to do anything about this? Because it was
Um,
during the lockdown. A lot of companies weren't really, responding and so forth in the really early days. It just occurred to me how much of that part of the hobby is one guy or one family.
yeah, yeah. I think it's more sort of a phenomenon when you come into to smaller producers. Like I said, the only experience I have is secondhand from my friend Dim, um, who's had similar experiences. Where it's a case of you'll make an order with someone and it could take weeks,
Yeah,
whereas maybe we're just used to instant purchases and instant sort of like gratification in regards to product. We're sort of spoiled in that regard in the modern era quite a lot, and maybe it was something we've taken for granted, and only recently have we come to realize that, you know.
yeah. Well, that's what big companies can give us, isn't it? Um, but maybe we don't. If we don't want big companies, we need to be more forgiving of the smaller ones. But
Well,
that's
this
the
is
great thing about you mentioned Salute, isn't it? That's why you go there. Is you'd never come across these people otherwise.
oh yeah, like that was the first time I think I was because like in Ireland, I'm from Ireland. I'm back in Ireland now. I did live in London for nearly 3 years at one point, but in Ireland,
Not better.
um, like there's not we don't have as much of a tradition of wargaming that the UK has.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm not used to coming across guys in their late 60s and 70s who are into historical wargaming. I mean, I'm sure they exist, but they're few and far
Yeah,
between. But when I went to Salute and I'm seeing they're playing like all of these different games that are being played, and there's guys running like Mad Max team games, there's guys running World War Two games, there's guys running like Vietnam era stuff and Napoleonics and all this stuff. You're sort of like me personally. I just never sort of was exposed to it because we don't really have the culture of it here. Now I've come across like, is it like DBM or I'm not too sure
yeah,
what the
yeah.
word is.
DVM, yeah,
Yeah, I've come across like a handful of
daily
chaps,
multitudinous.
yeah, who play like DBM games, but that's about it. Like in my years of wargaming in Ireland, whereas I find that Britain has, you guys have more of a tradition of it. So you know what I mean. You get to experience historical wargaming a lot easier. You're exposed to it a lot easier than I'd say in Ireland. Like culturally, I found in the hobby that's the difference. But
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe in like 20 or 30 years, it won't be as much of a thing. You know what I mean? Wargaming in
Well,
general is
it's
grand.
interesting, isn't it? Because wargaming, historical wargaming, certainly. I grew up. People played 50 mil Napoleonics. They played 20 mil World War II because they had all the airfix tanks and and so forth. And kids played Warhammer, but that aspect of the hobby had started to die off quite badly. But it's had a bit of, we think, with game systems like Bolt Action and the Two Fat Lardies and their rules. There's been a bit of a return to it, I think. And I don't know how much of it, mate, actually is our generation, for want of a better term. What I mean by that is people who were kids when Warhammer came out,
Hmm.
and now adults, sort of not in their twilight years, but we've got our houses, we've got our kids, and suddenly money for models doesn't seem like the problem it did when we were kids. We got some free time on our hands, and we got a bit of disposable income, and we've all gone and looked back at it again. So when you look at a lot of people doing wargaming, they are in their late 30s and early 40s. People coming back to Warhammer and stuff, and then looking at historicals. So these are the kids that grew up with the kids with Rogue Trader. They mixed around with some other stuff, and now they've come back again. Some people stayed with it, but a lot of people didn't and have come back recently.
Yeah, I've observed that a lot as well. Even just if you're looking at stuff on YouTube, which I'm aware is sort of, it doesn't show a true depiction of the whole demographic, but um, even still, you'll see, yeah, there's quite a lot of that going on as well. It's like, oh, someone used to be into Warhammer or Wargaming when they were a teenager, and they've come back in their later years. Like that phenomenon, I've found kind very interesting. Like even in the war bosses, like I think I've stuck with it since I've been about 9. Obviously interest has waxed and waned. I've been super into it at certain periods of time and not as into it at other periods of time. But I haven't really given up or at any period of time. So it's interesting looking at it from that context. And then I really like talking to people who get back into the hobby, and it's like, oh well, they them finding out the information on what's the game like now, what's changed. It's like, oh well, you know, and you're filling them in. It's maybe like storyline has changed and rules. They'll talk to you about, oh, when I used to play, this was the rule and that was the rule, and it's sort of, they're like a mini nostalgia trip, if you get
Oh,
me.
it's so powerful.
Yeah.
I'm just having a bit of a giggle at Poker Cactus saying I'm 23. Money for models just means less food, lol.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yep.
If I look like I'm looking weird, it's because rather than looking at my camera, which I probably should be, is I'm actually trying to read comments and so forth and
Well, you're probably
seeing it.
doing a
So,
better
so
job than me. I'm
I'm
get,
not. I'm no pro at this.
I'm getting.
Nostalgia, really powerful. That, I mean, a good example of that. You talk to people about Hero Quest, about Space
Ah,
Crusade, and about Space Hull, and they have very great affection for these games. But
yeah,
the
but they
other
were
thing
good
about those
games.
games,
They were good
they
games,
were
man.
cool games, Scarnett, but they were also games that saying this same generation of people grew up with. They came out at the same sort of time.
Hmm. Well, yeah, like like I have Hero Quest, like, and I've
What,
played
like
it,
a
and
full set?
I don't have the full set. I have the core game.
Uh,
Oh Jesus, I'm not made of money. You mad?
uh,
um, I don't have the full set, but I do have the core game. But even games like that aren't. Do you ever get games where it's like people remember them fondly, and then you play them again, you're like, that wasn't that great.
yeah.
Whereas with Hero Quest, where I've played games with me brother, and then me 6-year-old nephew as well. We got him playing as well, and I find it just as enjoyable now as I did when I was younger, and I'm enjoying the experience of sort of seeing like my nephew being excited about playing it. You know what I mean? It's sort of that gives me a bit of a kick as well. You know?
And he's never seen the advert with the broadsword.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't seen the broadsword advert or anything.
I'm
But
sure it's all over YouTube. Type
oh yeah,
Google
Bardic
broadsword, there it is.
Bardic broadcasts.
Oh, that is, if you've not seen it, that is one of the best things on YouTube, that guy.
It
He's
really is.
amazing. He seems to only do about 2 videos a year.
Like, mate, when they're of that caliber, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
Two is a godsend.
Fantastic stuff. Hero Quest. So one of the other guys, my principal co-host, Johnny B, with that nostalgia stuff, his personal journey, he's recollecting all of those games that as a kid he either never had or kind of had a half of a set handed down from his brother who didn't want it anymore or didn't really know how to play it. And he's collecting those things up, eBay Rescue, painting them up beautifully with a view. It's like, this is the experience I wanted when I was 12 and I couldn't have. But now I've got money and time, I'm going to have that experience.
And I've been watching those videos. I've been liking what he's been doing with the Rogue Trader Space Marines.
Oh, he spends a fortune on Beaky Marines. Because they're tiny. They're so tiny. I don't just mean compared to Primaris, I mean compared to modern tactical Marines.
Oh, yeah.
And so the weapons don't fit and so forth. And they're all in the same. There's 2 slightly different leg poses, and I mean very slightly. They does loads of modelling work just to get something look a little bit different. Use as much original as he can. But he's still rubbish at the game. So.
But I like that though, you know what I mean? Like like when I got into orcs, that's my big thing for 40k. When I got into them, that's what I wanted though. I went a bit mad and I bought a lot of Rogue Trader orcs and Gorka Morka orcs, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I went the whole hog, and I've noticed that as well. I think there's a lot of people who like retro Warhammer or the idea of it. Like for instance, there's second ed.
It's got categories. There's old hammer, and then there's middle hammer.
Yeah.
They're not the same.
No. Yeah. I get you. They're very distinct things. And yeah, I find that interesting, that sort of phenomenon as well. I was like, oh, this is a thing. I wasn't aware that this was a thing starting off, but it's very interesting looking at it, and it's very interesting looking at how those communities go about their stuff. Like there's literally like it's a bit of a trip, like when you're watching guys who are making second ed terrain to go with their like second ed armies. That's the whole shtick.
Oh, right. It's like you're spending time and money to make this look terrible by modern standards.
Yeah, exactly. But there's something
like
about
green
it though.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it has a. There is something about it though. I can see the allure. I'm like, oh, maybe it is nostalgia, but it's.
I think so.
I can see the allure of it, but it does look class when they do it all up. It does look absolutely mint. My apologies if I'm ignoring the comments section. But there is the link to Discord, folks. If you want to try your work in progress, post it in the live stream work in progress if you're painting along with me. And we'll have a look later. Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, Kaiser. What were you saying?
No, just saying, well, we're on the nostalgia chip, because I think deep down, certainly for me and a lot of it, being able to somehow get some of those better experiences. I mean, when I think about it, I played Hero Quest as a youngster on the living room floor with my sister with those shonky wooden dice and her being very vaguely interested in it. and yet I still remember that extremely fondly. And
Yeah.
actually, it must have been a terrible gaming experience. So I do worry about what you said earlier about was it really what you think it was? And there's a real danger of damaging something special there, isn't there? The memory might not be quite the reality. But you said
I
Hero
can,
Quest did
yeah.
hold up.
I can understand the hesitation. I can understand the hesitation, but I would, yeah, I would suggest anyone who enjoyed Hero Quest and has fond memories of it that you give it a bash with friends and family. That you won't be disappointed. It's a
After watching
cracking
Bardic
game.
broadcast to get you back in the mood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you go watch Bardic broadcasts, Hero Quest, um, reboxing or review. It is probably one of the best reboxings, unboxings, reviews I've ever seen on the internet. It is that good.
It really is, right? You're gonna have to excuse me because I have a filthy habit. Uh, mm. So the other one that really enjoyed going back to is Space Hulk. So Johnny B's collected first edition Space, the very first Space Hulk with the monoposed Terminators that are
Yeah.
just terrible. They're tiny as well. They look like somebody put a face on a turtle and stretched it out flat. Um, yeah, and he's done a beautiful paint job on them, painting them as blood angels because that's what's on the box art.
Yep.
And he's got a load of Gene Stealers, but he's slowly painting some original Gene Stealers, which are not as nice as his modern Gene Stealers. He's like, no, I need to complete the set. But what what I'd forgotten about that game is how bloody hard it is. It is impossible to win as the Marines in that game.
Space Hulk, yeah, like I have some of the newer iterations. I think I bought the box set when they did a re-release in 2009. I bought the box set, and I remember playing in the local gaming store at the time. The guy working in it, it's an FLGS, it wasn't a GW, and he
Oh,
had a scenario set up where it was like all the Marines are spread out, and you need to block off the Gene Stealers coming in, and it's a really hard. Like the guy said, nobody's won this. Not, you know what I mean? When I played it and I won it, he was like, "You're the first person to actually finish this mission. Everybody else has failed." And
yeah.
at times it's not an easy game, but I suppose that's the allure of it, though, is that
I,
it's
I think it is. And that you said that was the 2009 remake. What's easy to forget about original Space Hulk is you didn't have thunder hammers and auto cannons and all of
yeah,
the
yeah,
stuff that makes you be able to compete with them. The Gene Stealer touched you, you just died.
game over, man.
It breathes on you from round a corner. The Marine is dead.
Game over,
Um,
man.
yeah, it's and and we tend to think, that game is really hard, isn't it? I'm not sure I like it. So no, I did like it because it was hard,
It's a
and it
challenge,
was
though.
and it's a two-player game where really both players are playing the Marines.
Yeah,
One
because
person
you
is
switch it
moving the
around, like.
Gene Stealers, but you're still rooting for the Marine. Really, it's not a competition between the players. It's GM and player more than anything else.
I think that's the thing with it, though, is you're supposed to, like, if you're playing it, you play a mission, you'll play it twice, and you'll switch it over, and sort
Yeah,
of see
yeah,
who beats it or who at least does well, or there is that
yeah.
aspect of it.
Well, we played it 3 times on camera. The very first mission in the very first book, and he's failed 3 times. So I bought myself a box of Wolfguard. So we're gonna do the Wolfguard edition of the same one, and I'm sure I'm gonna do better.
But there's been talk with guys as well, like I know Rivets and Naka was talking about it, but there's a variant where orc players use Meganobs instead of Terminators. Because if you look into the orc lore, they get into Space Hulks and they take them over. That was originally how they started at WAS.
Yeah.
Um, so it'll be something I need to do is build up all these Meganobs I bought from these Saga of the Wolf box sets and
Oh, did you
do.
pick them up cheap on eBay?
Ah, no, I bought multiples of them. You know, I bought multiples and I sold off the Space Wolf halves. So I think it worked out that I bought. It works out that I bought one box set, but I got the contents of 3 for the orcs. You know.
I think describing the Space Wolf content to that box as half is being a little bit generous.
Well, you know what I mean. Yeah, I was like, I'm not even a Space Wolf player, and I was
It's 10 Marines and a tennis player.
and a tennis player. Yeah. Yeah, even I'm not a Space Wolf player, and I was disappointed. I was like, what in the hell is going on here? I remember
Yeah.
talking to Steve at the time, and we were talking about the contents for the Space Wolves, and even he was like, surely there's more that they just haven't shown us. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
no, mate, that looks like that's going to be the box set. That looks
yeah.
like that's all we're getting.
I mean, if
Um,
you were an Orc player, it was great because Mega Knobs are so expensive. So getting them in that set, just I thought, if I was an Orc player, I'd be pleased with that because it's models I wouldn't have a lot of.
yeah, they're pretty expensive. I think they're like €50 a box, maybe a bit more, something like that.
Yeah. I think even over here they work out 10 quid a model.
Yeah,
That's
they're
like
they're not cheap.
that's a lot of. It's a beautiful kit, but it's a lot of money for one model.
Yeah,
It's what 40 points in the game or something.
something like that. Yeah, you can
It's a
get a
lot. It's a
good
lot of
cost
cash
prohibitive.
to fill the
Yeah,
table with.
partner cash for them. Definitely. I need to take this off the clamp. It's annoying me. But yeah, it's interesting with the box sets, and then there's this limited release box set that's come out. What is it, Indomitus or?
Oh, do you know what? It was only yesterday, wasn't it? And I'd already forgotten about it. Do you know?
Yeah,
I do want to ask, by the way, Skarnir. I keep meaning to ask you in the live stream when I'm watching. What brush are you using there? Because you seem to be able to keep a magnificent tip on that, and all mine look like they've been shoved up my armpit for a week
these
after I've had them a couple of times.
these are only new brushes that I've gotten from Broken Toad. I was looking to get some Kalinsky Sable ones that I'd only use on characters. So these are Broken Toad brushes. I've got introduced to them through Spud from Chillin' Wargamers. I
Oh
know
yeah,
him and
yeah.
his crowd, they use them a
Spud
lot.
with his fruit pooch.
Yeah, with his flute pooch. And yeah, I saw them using them and I was like, they look pretty good. And I was looking to get myself some Kalinsky Sables just for characters and stuff. So I've started using them and I'm impressed with them. But like, me workhorses, you know what I mean? Like, it specifically
Yeah,
tells you how to take care of these. It's like when you're taking paint from the pot, don't use these. When you're mixing on the palette, don't use them. Wash them regularly.
yeah.
So I still have like, for the chaff troopers, I still use like army painters that are beat the hell and back, and OGW paintbrushes that I've slowly killed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, these ones are Broken Toads. They're I paid for these myself. I'm not being sponsored or anything like that.
No, no, I brought it up. I brought it up.
That's it's true. These are, yeah. So I'm using the size tail. I got them in a set of I think it was 4 brushes. So there's like a 0, a double 0, a 1, and a 2. And
Yeah,
this
no,
is
that's that. I'm looking at and thinking that brush is holding a great tip and is holding plenty of paint.
yeah,
That's what you need. The problem
yeah,
with the tiny brushes is they just don't hold any paint. It dries out too much, etc.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It can be
Yeah,
problematic. But yeah, I'm enjoying this one. This is the first time I've really used it, but it's working out well. Uh,
just
I'll
make
tell you
sure you
how
never
it goes
play.
in a month or so. But yeah, very good things.
Yeah, they look good. They look good. So go on. How much were they? I'm
I
gonna
think
Google it in a minute. You see.
I paid £60 for. I got 4 brushes. I think it was £60. I got 4 brushes. I got a soap for 100 milliliters, and I got if it's here somewhere, a little bust as well, a little small bust to paint for 60. Where is it gone? And that was £60. I think it was £60. Yeah, I think it was like a deal they had.
£60. That's quite a lot, isn't it?
It is
At
quite a
the
lot, but
moment,
I wanted to try
I'm
them.
getting I'm getting through these at the rate of about one every 2 weeks, but they're from Hobbycraft, £2 for
Yeah. Well, I have
when
some of
when,
those as well. Like I
when they
have
go,
the
they
cheap
go in the
ones.
bin.
Yeah, I have some cheap ones as well. I think I spent a couple of quid on like generic bought from like Hobbycraft or stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think it's just a case of knowing which brush sets to use when. You know what I mean? Uh,
yeah.
that's why I'm only really sort of saving these for characters. I want to try and paint a bit better when it comes to my characters, but my bog standard dudes, no Jesus, I wouldn't kill these with them. But yeah, I can't remember. I think it's either like 30 or 40 quid just for the paint set or something like that. It's in and around that pricing region. Something like that. Off the top of my head. Paul Booth was saying, Space Hulk the original was terrible for your nerves too. Time restrictions was great. Yeah, the timer, man.
Oh, I can't play with that.
The timer and then the blips. I remember in the older versions, I think, playing with a friend who had the old versions, and some of the blips were blank. So you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, it's coming around the corner, what's going to happen? And then it's nothing. You know what I mean? You're like, you has your heart in your mouth at that point in time. And then, we'll flip over another one and it'll have like 3 or 4 Genius Stealers. Or you're like, oh no. It's a great game. It's very tense. Very well designed. In regards to one that isn't that fair, have you ever played Combat Patrol?
Oh, mate. you can't win that game. There's no winning that game.
I've never heard of anybody winning that game. I have it. I haven't played it. But literally the only thing I've heard of is that it's like nigh impossible.
We've got a couple of videos of it on our channel. Apparently, one of our guys, Clueless Mike, did win it once. I don't believe it. I've played Combat Patrol. You can't win. You can't win.
I have heard that it's pretty hard.
But it is a fun game, but it probably is done in 20 minutes once you know how to play it, and you're just going to lose as the scouts.
Well, this is it, and then, the other person takes a turn and they lose, and on you go to the next one.
Absolutely. So, go on. As you mentioned Indomitus, then I guess it's worth talking. So, did you buy one then, Scott?
No, I was originally thinking of buying one, taking the rule book out, and then just selling the miniatures on. But I'm like, it's too much hassle for me. I'll acquire a rule set later on. I'm not in too much of a rush. The hype train is just mad at the moment.
It is.
It is madness. People are going crazy. And I'm just, I just keep myself too distracted. Playing BattleTech at the moment. It's not that I don't care about 9th edition. I'm not into hype,
No.
I'm not on
and
the
you
hype
don't
train.
collect Space Marines or Necrons.
No, not at all, exactly. So it's like, me.
That's money that you could keep, right? So I was part of the moron brigade that was like, pressing F5 all morning on Saturday to try and get hold of a couple of copies. I very, very foolishly didn't go to my local hobby store like before the pre-order, because they order them in advance, don't they? And normally with something like this, I'd just say, like, as soon as you've got it, I'll take one. But I didn't do that this time. And then I told that there was none more going to be available that hadn't already been ordered. It's like, so you're telling me that you've sold out before the pre-order date? There's something wrong with your language here, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a bit of a...
I didn't realize I could order it before the pre-order date, all right, and knowing that I should have done. So then I found myself on the Wayland Games website, and see, which had totally failed, by the way. You couldn't get onto the Wayland Game website for about 10 minutes. And then I got on and it was sold out.
Oh.
And then 10 minutes later, I got on again and they said they had 10 plus in stock. Like, right, I'll get 2 of these, because I didn't know if any of my friends had also been able to get one. In worst case scenario, I'll just sell it on later. But someone I know and care about was going to fail to get one of these that wants one. I ordered 2. And where I am at the moment is I don't know whether that's a glitch still. I'm like 250 quid into Wayland Games for a product that 10 minutes before I bought it, they said they didn't have any of. I don't know whether I've actually got 2 copies coming, or whether their website glitched or whatever. I guess I'll find out on Monday morning when I give them a ring.
Oh, that's the stress, man. I wouldn't be able to, and then the disappointment to think that you've got something secured, and you know what I mean? That would, I wouldn't be able for that at all.
The missus bringing me a fresh copy. Thank you.
Oh, jealous. Very jealous. Very jealous indeed.
Yeah, Hobbygate limited edition starter box. I don't think it's not the starter box they're saying, is it? It's a limited edition box. whether it's genuinely limited or whether they'll be selling all them models later. There's no way that, from when I looked at it, it's thinking there's no way they're selling these models at this price later.
No, I wouldn't say so.
For Games Workshop, it's fantastic value. I fully expect over the next 6 months there's going to be, last time they had like no fear, and first they had like a 25 quid box and a £50 box, as well as the big one. I fully expect them to do that again because they sold it incredibly well.
Yeah. Like, I'd be surprised. Like, there's no way you do molds up for those type of miniatures and you're not going to sell them afterwards. And the fact that they're push fit, like, they'll definitely be in starter sets. You're probably right, though. I'd agree with you that you're just not going to get them in the same value.
Yeah, there'll be £100 starter set, but it won't have all of those characters in it.
Yeah, they'll do what they did where it's like you'll buy, the Primaris Marines and a few Nurgles for whatever, 30, 40-ish pounds, and the rest.
Yeah, I think so. And they can stick that app. Oh, mate, the app was even worse, wasn't it?
I haven't even. Yeah, it's like you want. What is it again? It's like you have to pay a subscription if you want the points and the army building feature of it.
Yeah, but you don't get the codexes with it. So you still have to buy the codex full price, and then you punch your code into it, and then you have to pay. Like, the Battle Scrab is free, right?
Well, this is the thing. Like, maybe I should have a tinfoil hat, but I reckon they'll try and crack down on Battle Scribe. I definitely think so. I don't know how they're going to go about it because Battle Scribe themselves don't host the information. It's all uploaded by fans, but I reckon there'll be a crackdown on the likes of that.
I don't know whether that's a good idea, though, for them as a business, because they've pushed so heavily into the competitive scene recently and trying to get involved with the ITC and so forth. That's all heavily linked to Battlescribe and their data collection stuff. I think they'll hack off a lot of their core players if they start, going heavy on Battlescribe.
Well, yeah, it could play out. It could be. It's very.
As a political thing, I think it'd be a really bad decision for them. I suspect they know how they would have closed it.
Situation, definitely. His paint is too thick.
So you mentioned the sprues then, with the sprues in Dom, because obviously I watched some of the stuff. I've not been following the rules that much. I'm not massively interested in rules.
It's impossible to be in Wargaming and not have caught some of it in your periphery. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But when you're talking about sort of repackaging and selling it later, one of the striking differences I noticed when we saw the sprues in this kit compared to the sprues from the Dark Imperium set. In the Dark Imperium set, you get a Nurgle sprue, but it'd be all mixed up. Some Marines, there's some Poxwalkers, there's half of a bloat drone or something. So they couldn't really resell those models later as separate units.
But it's the same problem they have with the Death Copter and the Orcs.
Yeah, same problem. Exactly. So they fitted the models into the minimum number of frames. But this time when I was looking at them, the Necron Warrior sprue is a sprue of Necron Warriors with the 2 gun options. The bike sprues is 3 separate sprues of 3 separate bikers. And it looked like it was all like that. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see when they release these later as individual kits, it's in fact these same sprues. Or they're going to do them as easy build sprues, in other kits. That they've been cleverer about how they've put the box together so that they can reuse the sprues.
Yeah, no, definitely. But that makes more sense economically. You'll get more use out of these, out of the sprues themselves. That
yeah,
they're investing quite a lot in, so you might as well get more of a return on them. You know what I mean? Economically, it makes more sense.
Definitely.
So I can't begrudge them that. How much I can say.
And it means that the model is available other than just in that very high price spot. You know, I'm quite lucky, I suppose, at my age. I've got a job and so forth. I can, if I want to spend some money on the hobby like that, I can. But if you're like, 22 and just getting started in life, 125 quid box set is a lot of money to lay out, especially if you only want one or two models in it.
Yeah.
And if that's the only way to get that character, and that character turns out to be quite powerful or something, or quite integral, yeah, so they'd be good to see if they could do more of that. Maybe the release is limited, but only for a short period of time.
Well,
Johnny B, did I buy a box for you? That's my John Batchelor. That's my boy Johnny B. I bought two, John. One of which is for you if you didn't get one. I don't actually know whether we've got it. The games might have glitched. I'm going to phone him on Monday and check.
It's like
I did.
Schrodinger's box set then, is it? It's like you won't know if it exists until you go to check.
Absolutely. I also, I mean, maybe it was me, but I checked the GW website and I was sure it said that it was going to be pre-released on their website on Sunday. Which,
I don't know. I really don't know. I've been burying my head in Battletech at the moment. So I haven't really kept up to date. I was thinking about it and then I was like, well, I already have too many unpainted miniatures, and then the hassle of selling it on again,
Yeah. And anyone who's buying from the eBay scalpers is potentially in for some real disappointment, because those people had them up for sale before they were available to buy. They maybe didn't get them. They're maybe not going to get them.
Yeah, this is true as well. Yeah, that's a bit precarious to say the least.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
But your BattleTech then, mate. What's it? For people that don't know.
Well, what is it?
What? How does it play out? What does it look like? What's your favorite mech?
My favorite mech is, now I've started a color scheme for my mercenary unit, so forgive the shoddy workmanship. I've been experimenting with them, but I have my mercenary company I've been painting up. So it's sort of what colours do I use? I think I use Vallejo model colour World War II Luftwaffe German uniform, which is sort of like a Fenris kind of grey. And then I use like a light grey, and that one is a Vallejo model colour pale blue grey. I use that as the basis. But the thing I've been experimenting with a fair bit has been trying different washes on them. So this guy I've been trying out the Vallejo model washes a fair bit. So this one has Vallejo Moss Grey. It's very subtle, so I reckon I'd have to do a few coats. So I've tried that with him. This guy is using just Games Workshop black null oil, is it? This one here, yeah. This one is using null oil.
This one, I'm not seeing any models on the screen. Are you showing models?
I'm showing models. They're not coming up on the screen at all. Just buying from scalpers is empowering to do out more. Let them sit on the hundreds and maybe thousands of dollars worth of boxes and lose out, says Joe the Juggalo. John Batchelor. So John is saying the Warhammer is my favourite.
That's my Johnny B. He's on the shielded list, because he's ginger. He's got to stay at home and wait for the rest of us.
Oh, bless. So yeah, I've been trying out different washes, and some of them have been working out well, some of them not so much. So I've been trying out contrast paints. I tried out a contrast grey, which is more like a black, and then I've been trying out the contrast white, which is like a light grey. So I've been experimenting a fair bit. So I'm gonna be stripping back the unit again after I've settled on what I want. But I have the color scheme in mind. It's just sort of the execution of it. Like some of them just have base colors at the moment because I still haven't decided. But yeah, the mechs I'm using, and I've recorded a battle report yesterday, and hopefully I'll get that video up soon enough. The mechs I'm using, there's only 2 mechs that aren't either from the beginner set. I've been given 2 mechs by friends, and the rest of them are. I'm specifically only using the mechs from the beginner set and the Game of Armored Combat set. So that's 10 mechs altogether.
That sounds like a lot of mechs. Because it's quite a bookkeeping game, isn't it? Each mech's got its own damage sheet and all that stuff.
Yeah, each mech has its own damage sheet, but this is 12 mechs is my mercenary company. Like that's the size of the merc unit at the moment. But 12 mechs is fine, but on average you're going to be using a lance, which is 4 mechs. So I'll have 12 mechs altogether, but you know, 2 of them are light scout mechs, which are fast, so I'll use them for recon missions. Like 3 of them are assault mechs, which are, you know, heavier in tonnage and they're slower and they have more armor. So each mech has its sort of role. There's the medium-sized guys that I have, my medium mechs. They're sort of more maneuverable. They've got decent damage output and they've got jump jets. They're sort of the workhorses of the unit, are the medium mechs. These guys probably see the most action. Sadly, one of them exploded on me on the first mission, and you know
That's probably not good.
no, not for the start of a campaign. Fell over and landed on his ammo bin internally, and then like some of the heavier guys are just like, some of them are missile support, so they sort of stand back a bit and they give missile support for the other guys.
Johnny B's just saying death from above. That's the one thing that everybody remembers, right? You jump off buildings onto other mechs.
Yeah, you can do. It's a bit of a desperate act. I've had it done to me. I've tried it. It's yeah. This is what, you know. I think that's what I like about BattleTech is it can get as granular as you want it to be, but there's also rules. They've more streamlined rules called Alpha Strike. So typically, if you're playing a game of BattleTech, you're gonna be playing with about 4 mechs ish in and around that region. And then we'll play a game against each other. So like, you'll have 4 mechs, I'll have 4 mechs. We'll decide on an era of time, and then we'll decide on a battle value. So each mech has a battle value, and that's calculated, and that's from its armor value, its weapons, its maneuverability. Each mech has a battle value. And then after that,
it's not just straight tonnage, because I think that's what it was before.
Yeah, straight tonnage back in the day was what a lot of people used to do before there was clan invasion stuff, and that wasn't a bad marker back in the day when there wasn't that many mechs, because you know,
well, that many types.
Yeah, that many types, because one 55 tonner was roughly equivalent to another 55 ton mech. You know, there wasn't that many of them. But what happened was later on, when new technology came out, there was an imbalance that no longer really could be used as a marker of each mech of its abilities. So they came up with battle value. So battle value is the base cost of the mech, and that takes into account its armor, its maneuverability, jump jets, and weapons and stuff. But on top of that, there's multipliers. So obviously a unit gets better if you put a better pilot into it. So you can make it a lot easier to shoot with units if you put an ace pilot in it, and that has a multiplying effect on each mech. So obviously if we both had the same mech, so if we both had Wolverines, and you had a standard pilot, which is 4-5, so the system is a D12 system. You're rolling 2 dice.
D12.
Yeah. You're
2d6, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, 2d6. I'm losing the run myself.
Yeah. So, yeah, because it recognises that 7 is a common result, doesn't it? I remember that.
Yeah. So because it's like a bell curve if you look at the distribution on the 2d6. So like common mechs, common pilots, they'll be like gunnery 4 and piloting 5. So when you're looking to make a test against the skill, you're rolling 2d6. You're looking to either match the score needed or exceed it, and then obviously there's modifiers. So you know, if you walk or run, there's modifiers. It makes it harder for you to shoot. You know, that type of thing. So obviously, if you put a better pilot in, you're more likely to hit. It becomes more expensive. So it's good. I like it, but there's so much to it that I like about it. Like you can have platoons fighting. There's aircraft. It scales up and down. You can go down. I think it scales into. You can play an RPG game, but there's internal rules for scaling it into bigger games, and you know, I like it. I'm enjoying it. I really am. I'm surprised at how much I'm enjoying it, and I feel
Yeah.
kind of guilty as well at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like but
You
I
feel
love.
guilty?
Well, yeah, I'm sort of. I don't know. I like the game and I enjoy being enthusiastic about it, but sometimes I feel like I'm a bit too enthusiastic. That some people may take that up wrong. Do you ever get that? You know, if all your mates play Warhammer 40k and you start playing and enjoying a different game, some of your friends may not. They'll be like, oh, but we do this game together. You know what I mean? Sort of
Yeah.
a little bit of something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so. I did like the idea of Baltec, and I said I did. But I actually they. So you're going back to now would be the late 80s when I played Baltec, and it was published by FASA. I don't know if it's still. I think it was FASA, and they had an infantry combat game called Battle Troops,
Hold on.
and I remember that quite vividly. That was with little, fold over cardboard soldiers that you put into a little plastic shoe.
So I have gone a bit mad. I may have gone and because I run mercenaries, I've gone and bought all of the source books for mercenaries. So I have some of the stuff going back to FASA. I have some of the FASA books from the 80s, I think. Even looking at the art of it, it's all super 80s. When was this printed? 1987. This is older than me. Yeah, so I've gone back and there's like FASA, Fan Pro. But that's what I like about it as well. Is that like you could get back into Battletech today and use the mechs that you had 20, 30 years ago and they're still viable,
They're still good. Well, I'm looking at your mechs and the ones I've got downstairs. It's single cast, the base and the model.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they yours look like they're on nice hexagonal bases, and they don't seem to have the horrendous mold lines that my models have.
No, these ones are all the new era of mech. They are multi-part plastics from the way they're cast, but when you buy this mech, this is the way you get it. It comes on the base, it comes pre-assembled, and it comes in the box set. And there are some mold lines on them, but they're not horrendous.
Right.
But it's really that's what I like about it. Is it's a self-contained box set that you get with the game of Armored Combat, where it's actually we buy the box and we can play it straight away in the gaming store. It has everything. It has the battle mats. It has the rules, and the miniatures. And I like box sets like that.
Yeah. Ready to go.
Yeah,
One
exactly.
of the things we do on our channel, we often do battle out of the box stuff. So this is the genuine beginner experience. If we're going to start, we'll start at the beginning.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm trying to remember. I can't remember the names. I'm not sure about what that guy's got in the middle of his chest there, mate. Did you need to draw attention to the end of it with the little dot?
Oh, the
nipples.
The PPCs. The
PPCs.
Plasma projection cannons or something like that. Isn't it particle projection cannons? Yeah. This is the awesome. I need to paint them up in red. His nipple cannons.
Nipple cannons. I seem to remember that when I played it, things like I think PPCs were okay, but lasers were terrible because they generated a vast amount of heat compared to an autocannon, and you'd be dead before you ran out of ammunition. So they were just a terrible choice of weapon. Have they changed the relationships there?
I think they've changed the balance somewhat. Like each weapon has its ups and its downs. Like I think the medium lasers are sort of the workhorses. They're damage output and heat output. Like they're pretty even keel. Particle projection cannons do more damage, but they generate more heat. And auto cannons are low heat generating, but they're decent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plus, you can. Oh, there's so much to it, man. There really is. Like, like even with autocannons, you can get different types of ammunition. So you could get flechette rounds if you want to use against troops. If you want to fire your autocannon at troops, because if you fire like obviously if you like in World War II, if someone fired an armor-piercing projectile at a platoon of troops, they're gonna knock out one dude. Whereas if
Quite horrifically, but yes,
yeah,
just one
I
dude.
mean, he'll be totally dead.
He'll be in half if you can hit him.
If
But
you
yeah,
can hit him. Yeah, well, whatever bits of him you find, but you'll hit him, he'll be brown bread. Whereas,
yeah,
if you use
definitely.
a more specialized ammunition like high explosive stuff, and you can do that with this game as well. That's what
Yeah,
I like about
yeah,
it. You can have aircraft coming in, you can be throwing, uh, different types of ammunition at each other. Yeah, like you can have inferno rounds, so you can set stuff on fire, and it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. It's great crack.
stuff and knock buildings down, all that kind of thing. I remember all that kind of stuff, and that stuff is always fun. For me, it's always are the rules simple enough for dealing with those problems. As soon as you get to a situation that right, we need to go back to the rule book to find out what happens now. I've jumped off the building onto this guy. That is it. Add a D6 to your tonnage and look at this chart. Great. Is it make a calculation? Not so good.
It depends on the situation. Like
Yeah,
unless you're gonna do something like really odd or weird, um, most of the rules are fine.
yeah,
That they're pretty straightforward. There are gonna be instances where you'll want to do something really um, intricate, and there are rules there for it. But that's to be expected to a certain degree. But there's also what I like about it is there's a lot of optional rules, so you can make the game what you want it to be. If you and your mates don't like a rule, more likely than not, they'll have other optional rules that you want to swap out. So, for instance, myself and my friends, the optional rule that we like to use is floating critical hits. So, when you roll to hit someone, if you hit them, you're going to roll
mm-hmm.
2d6 to see where on the location on the mech it lands. And if you roll
Yeah,
snake eyes when you roll the location, under the normal core rules, that means you've scored a critical hit against the center torso. But there's an optional rule where it means you've potentially scored a critical hit, and then you roll to see what location it is. So that's just one variant that we use. We find it more interesting and fun. It's supposed to sort of represent like a true armor shot, sort of. You know what I mean? Where you've gone in one side and out the other. Maybe you hit a component, maybe you don't. Um,
yeah.
yeah, so it's fun like that. It's interesting. And then there's I'm enjoying it. I am. My guilty
It's
pleasure is
giant
Pokemon.
robots hitting each other, right? The story is fun. Just always make sure that the rules are still fun.
Yeah, the rules I find the rules are fun. They're pretty straightforward for me. I'm sure they're not everyone's cup of tea, but it's
I'm going to be looking at that bag of models when I go downstairs.
oh
I know exactly where they are. I've been thinking of taking them into school for the kids to paint for quite a while. Since I had a bit of a clear out during lockdown. I was thinking, these are giant robots that are 2 inches tall. The kids will enjoy painting these.
mate,
Now I'm thinking,
I've never seen so many skips in all my days. Like I think everyone's been having a giant clear out during the lockdown.
yeah,
It's been the time for it. Like a lot of folks having time off. I've literally never seen so many skips in all of my life. In various gardens up and down the road.
so many that people are not having to put their own rubbish in someone else's skip.
Hey, do you know what? Probably. Probably. Exactly. That always happens. You know that. It's always funny. Wake up in the morning and it's like, where did all this come from?
We've been thinking about getting a skip for a while, and my missus is like, we need it. We need it. We need to make sure that we're definitely in when it gets here. We'll just have everybody else's bedspread and TV in there. We're like, maybe at the moment that isn't such a problem. The one that I get, because I've got a little boy who's 5 years old, and so in the mornings, give him some exercise every day. We go for a bit of a walk, just round a block and so forth. And it was the glass collection day for the bin men. It was like, wow, there's a lot of drinking going on during this lockdown.
yeah. The wine bottles. Yeah, the wine
Yeah,
bottles
yeah.
collect. Yeah.
And they got you saying, well, they haven't collected for a few weeks. Said, I know, but every house is in the same situation though. Everyone here was collected at the same time last time, except these people have filled 3 bins with bottles, and these people have just got a few jam jars in the bottom. Who
It
has
is. It.
3 glass collection bins? They don't give you 3. You've had to get, you know what I mean? You've gone out of your way to get the other 2.
Navani's saying, I have a strange feeling of watching Robotech right now. Do it, man. Do it. Giant robot action.
Robotech. I'm trying
Yeah.
to remember the difference. Is Robotech is a TV show and a comic? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
right?
it was because, wasn't it when they started off with Battletech, I think they licensed some of the mechs from Robotech and Macross. Um, they were like Japanese giant robot cartoons. Um, because I know a lot of the old guard do go on about them.
Mm, yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard of Robotech. I just can't visualize it right now. I'm not a big manga head, me. I watched Akira like everybody else, but that's about it.
No, I'm like that myself. I'm not. I'm not super into robot mangas. It's not my cup of tea, but I do appreciate like a lot of the Studio Ghibli stuff. I like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but I've only recently watched it. Like, oh, because it all came onto Netflix. You know, like Spirited Away and
I think the anime grognards are a bit down on Studio Ghibli because like people's mothers have heard of them.
oh, all right, it's not niche enough anymore now.
It's not. It's too mainstream, mate. It's like my grandma's seen Howl's Moving Castle. That's not proper anime.
Oh, that doesn't count. Oh, okay. I'll have to hand in my
Hand in your cards. It's
hand in
Big
me
Mac
wee
Dan
account.
Skull in the house. Check it out.
Hey, what's the
Hello there.
crack, bud? Say, you should do live streams. You're getting the hang of them already. Can't believe I
But
missed most of this one. I'll have to rewatch and do some hobby tomorrow. Ah, totally, dude. Crack on. No bother. Sounds like a plan.
well, you're actually doing some hobby. How long have I been here? I haven't even put my brush in the water.
It's look, you're here to motivate other people to get hobby done, and that's half the battle I find with these hobby hangouts is if we get hobby done ourselves, it's a bonus. If not, and other people get hobby done, that's a win as well. You know, as long as somebody gets something done,
Somebody gets something done.
or even if we just have chats. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah,
whole thing.
yeah. I think it's one of the real strengths of the hobby. At the level that our channels are at is how collaborative people are. It's really nice to see the different people doing lots of different things. Because a lot of people talk about being hobby butterflies, but there's a lot of stuff that I can enjoy looking at other people do. Like I'm interested in what you're doing in BattleTech, but I know I'm not going to play. I don't have time to learn another rule set or paint another army. But it's nice to see what other people are doing with those games.
Yeah. Oh, but
Um,
mate, it's like watching a weaponsmith like for an hour and a half forging a sword out of rebar. It's like, well, I know I'm not gonna do it, but you know, there's just something about watching somebody do something, their craft or their hobby, or
yeah,
you
yeah,
know what I mean.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think with the hobby and with miniatures and stuff, a lot of it really is visual. I mean, how much time you think about how much time you spend playing games, how much time you spend painting games, and there's models, and there's a big difference there. And how much time you just spend lining up your soldiers on the shelf and looking at how beautiful they are and being pleased with it.
The
Do you
visual
know what I mean?
spectacle. Yeah.
Just looking at other people's collections is just a nice thing to do. Like in our videos, Johnny B, he usually does the battlefield, and he does the photographs, and I have to leave the room because he spends about an hour moving bits of clump foliage around to get them in the right shot for a picture because he loves all that stuff. Me, it's just like just get the models on the table and start rolling some sixes, mate.
Yeah. But you know, that's a key element of probably what got us into the hobby as well, because you'll have seen a visual spectacle, especially at the start of it, and it would
The
have captivated you.
spectacle,
Yeah,
yeah,
it will have captivated you. You know what I mean? the board done out to the nines and the 2 fully painted armies. I know not everybody is able to manage that, um, and that's I'm not sort of I don't have a fully painted army myself at the moment. That's not what I'm getting at, but it's more sort of what I mean. Visually, it looks good,
Yeah,
and it draws you in. And I think as you get into the hobby, like with anything, you learn how much effort is required to get something to that standard, and you learn to appreciate it more.
yeah. And you just look at somebody's, I don't know, weathering on a vehicle, and you're like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And then they tell you, and you think, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
It's like, I could, but we both know I probably won't.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm not in terms of like YouTubers and painting videos. One of the guys I really like is I think Sonic Sledgehammer Studios, because he just does 15-minute bang. Paint these base colors on, get a bit of a dry brush here, put some agrax on it. This model is ready for the table. And like that is how I paint my models. I personally don't like the sea of grey plastic on the table, but they don't have to be beautiful. They just need to be painted, I think,
Well,
for
it's
me, because it's
yeah.
such a big part of the game, the visual element of it.
I think it is like a large part, but it's up to each individual. Like some people will paint miniatures and spend days on each one. You know what I mean? And
Oh
then
yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah,
it depends on your approach and what your end goal is. Like with this character, I'm using like Kalinsky sable brushes and I'm taking my time with it and I'm doing more layers. But that's because he's a character. Whereas I'm gonna have a different approach when I'm painting the base guys. It's like it's gonna be block colors. They get a wash. If they're lucky, they might get a dry brush or something like that. And apart from that, it's just do them up and churn them out. You know what I mean? And I think that's
yeah.
another aspect of the hobby you need to sort of learn when you start off, as well as knowing when you've reached enough. Because especially
When
when
it's
you're
good
doing
enough for
large
you.
armies,
Yeah,
there's like the individual is lost in the crowd, and it looks better because of the amount of them. So you don't have to go into such detail.
yeah, yeah. Well, I've got a lot of old metal, like historical figures, and on block they look all right. But if you look at the model closely, it's like this guy's right ear is twice the size of his left ear. Because the old metal molds have been reused many times. Don't. I say to John when he takes the stills, I shows it. Don't do any close-ups of my models, mate.
No
I'm mine in the
macro shots.
background. Get but from 3 feet away, whole army of them looks great. From right in front of you, not a chance. And for me, but what I don't do is I don't varnish anything, because every now and then I go back to kind of not happy with these. I'm going to touch up the paint a little bit and maybe add some highlights to the rifles. One day I might even start drilling my barrels, but I'm not there.
Sacrilege. I only started doing that recently myself. But it's funny you say that. I do exactly the same thing, and I think I do it for exactly the same reason. It's almost like I never finish a miniature. It's almost like
Yeah,
there's always potential to eke out a little bit more. Maybe in the future you'll learn a little technique or something like that. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Whereas sort of the varnish is it sort of puts an end to any more potential on it. Yeah, I do the same thing myself. I don't varnish my miniatures for exactly the same reason. I'm like,
I'm
oh,
always prepared to go back to it.
yeah, I might go back to them one day. It's like a decade and a half later. Well, you never know. Like,
Yeah, I think doing a channel where you do battle reports is makes you a bit more conscious of that kind of thing as well. It's like, okay, so if I'm going to play with this army next time, let's get the miniatures out and see what they look like. Should I stick a bit of few extra tufts on these because I didn't base them properly, or if I just repaint the rifles and the helmets, does it make a big difference to the effect?
yeah, I think battle reports. There's like I think the bar is totally different now to when I first started in YouTube. Um, there's an expectation I feel
You
that you
can't pay on
need.
a bit of green felt.
Yeah, well, you can. There's nothing stopping you, but I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like the quality of some of the stuff out there now is just it's really good stuff. Like it's really good battle reports, really good spreads. Like we saw in the comments section there, Essex Boy finished his board game tonight. Like he's got a really good spread, really nice boards, miniatures are painted up, and it just, you know what I mean. It looks nice.
Mm. And one of your fellow countrymen, Broadsword Wargaming, he does some really high production values in his stuff.
Yeah, he does. Oliver does. Yeah, fair play to him. Like he really he aims really high in the out production. I would not be able for that myself. I don't think. Like I think everyone has sort of their own style when it comes to like YouTube videos and their own stuff, and mine's sort of like I don't know how you describe it. Sort of sit down in an armchair and have a chat with you type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of I have the. It's not the professional approach. It's sort of the sure come in and we'll play a game, and I'll stick on the kettle while we're at it. That's the sort of
Yeah. Whereas this has got a cinematic feel to it, hasn't it?
yeah. Oh yeah, highly polished. Really good stuff. Like
Really good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. No, I've recently started experimenting with multi-camera. I was looking at his stuff because I think he's similar age to me as a channel, and been thinking, wow, this guy's stuff is so much better than mine to look at. Um, and can I do some of that? Can I
hmm.
pitch up a little bit? And one of the difficulties with YouTube is you can't really go back. So if I film a battle report with three cameras, I can't film the next one with just the one static camera, can I?
Yeah, no, you've hit a nail on the head there. I've gotten a lens of a camera off of Mrs. Skarnir, and I've been hesitant to use it for anything other than pictures, because I know that I only have it for a certain period of time,
Hmm.
and it's the same thing. It's like if we start recording 4K videos, that's the standard people get used to then. So then you need
Yeah,
to keep up with that standard, and
yeah.
if you don't have yourself set up for it, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, you know. But yeah, there's quite a lot of we've got quite a lot of fingers in the same pies. You know what I mean? Similar thinking in regards to varnishing and then production value for the channel. So very interesting. A lot of crossover. Not surprised. Not surprised at all.
Yeah. Well, there's been a
Roxy
lot of time to
saying,
think about things during the lockdown. But are you back at work? Did you say?
"Ah, mate, I've, I've been working all the time. I've never stopped working. I haven't had any time off. No, but I've still been painting though in my spare time. Still been painting a bit,
Mhm.
chipping away. No
So
excuses.
I'm a librarian in the school, so I've been working through. But I've got a kid who's at home, so I can't do anything like what I've done before.
Hmm.
It's been strange times. It must, the people who I feel for. What about the person who's at home with six kids and lives on their own or something? It must be hell on earth.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I've just got the one, and he's cabin fever mental.
Yeah. My nephew's a bit like that. Yeah, just be
It's
crawling the
like
walls at
when
the best of times, let alone
we're
during this period of time.
you get a trampoline and you get a paddling pool and you go for walks and you go out on a trike. It's like, okay, yeah, we've been doing this for 12 weeks. Now I'm going to see if these pipes will come off the wall. That's the point that we've reached now. It's like, I can get from the sofa onto the windowsill if I hold onto the curtain. Oh, it comes off. It's like that sewing machine hasn't been out of the attic in years until he ripped the curtain down trying to climb onto the windowsill.
Oh my days. My days. I don't know how parents are doing it at the moment. I really don't.
Nurglings of your own then, bud.
No, not yet. No nurglings of my own at this point in time. I'm
But you're in
sure.
training. You understand how it works, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I won't be walking in blind. I understand. I've been warned enough. I know what's coming over the horizon. Don't worry. Come in, how are you? You talk to your ma. Oh, she's grand. What's Rivets and Dax saying? Scar's got more done than me while still working. I need to shape up. My God. No, you've done some work, Rivets and Dax. I've seen you've been doing like conversions and stuff. I still have that grot tank that is still not finished. Remind me. Yeah, I'm terrible for that, not finishing projects. So we need to keep cracking on with this war boss, and at least try and get the skin done. I really shouldn't have painted this skin now. I was planning on doing some sponging techniques on the armor, which is going to get a bit messy. So I think I'm going to have to do some masking. But yeah, sure. Let's see how it goes.
I think it's very much a feature of the hobby having projects that you need to finish, isn't it? I mean, if you haven't got 10 boxes of games that you intended to play or armies that you meant to build, you're not really in it. You're not in the game.
You're not really. What? You trying to tell me you don't have more miniatures unbuilt than you have built and painted? You're not a true wargamer, are you?
Well, I'm not sure that I do, but I got quite into the habit of rationalizing. I don't buy less, but I do. I'm a lot better at, like, you buy a box of 10 guys because you want to build 2 melter guns and a flamethrower, and you stick the other 7 guys in the same box as all the other hundreds of sprues that you've got. I've got a lot better at just banging anything that's a full sprue that I don't actually need, sticking it straight on eBay and getting some of the money.
That's you. You know what? You're better off. You really are
Because
better off.
you're just collecting this stuff.
Yeah,
And it's like,
amassing.
if I need those other 5 guys 3-4 years from now, I will buy that box again, build the other 5 guys, and sell the 5 that I didn't use. You don't make anything like the same amount of money, but it's just a space in your house.
Oh, definitely. I've parted with a few kits over the past few months because it gets to that critical point. It's like, I only have so much space. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
how much
absolutely.
of that is going to be dedicated to miniatures? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I started doing. I don't know how do you store your miniatures?
They're in shelves and boxes and cases and stacks. Now I don't have any stacks to the roof, but they're just they're in like IKEA cases, or I have drawers for like bits, and I have drawers for paints. Just stuff you'll get out of like Pound World or something. I haven't put any expenditure in storage.
No.
Or even
So
I think JD Sports. I think I bought like one of the storage things or something like that. You know yourself.
Well, I can safely say that in my entire life, I've never been into JD Sports. But I couldn't imagine they had anything that I would want.
You'd be surprised. I bought
I'm now knowing that you can get miniature storage boxes, even if
yeah.
that's not what they're intended for.
Or Lidl or Aldi. Oh yeah, no, JD Sports is all right. That's where I bought a few backpacks there, decent price. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I went for KR Multicase, thinking, because I like the fact that they cut the foam is cut to hold particular miniatures, which is really increasingly important with a lot of Warhammer stuff because they're in these new, really dynamic poses.
Yeah.
And I liked that idea. It was quite attractive. But what I hadn't factored into was the fact that when you've got everything in foam trays, it takes up even more room because the foam itself
takes up space.
The ones that always get me. I once played a game with a guy down at the local shop, and he had these. He'd spent clearly an amount of time painting this lovely Eldar army, and he was just scooping the models into a plastic bag as they died. Literally scooping them in. It's like, oh my god.
I used to store my. I think this was part of the allure of why I didn't bother painting my orcs for so long. I used to literally keep some of them in Ziploc bags when they were just grey. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I did once play a game with my Poxwalkers with my Death Guard, and I asked my opponent, because it was a game where I was playing with lots of Poxwalkers, maybe like 100. I said, "Do you mind if I leave them in the trays?" We'll say the front of the tray is where the unit is, because it was so many models to move, and it was quite late in the day.
Yeah. Like, even you wouldn't think it, like when you have that many miniatures and you're moving them around on the table, or you're taking casualties off, or even if you're taking like your army out for a video or displaying, it's a lot of time.
A lot of time.
A lot of time. Like.
And it's a problem with individual miniatures. I'm just going to grab something, hopefully, to show you. See?
Close cam.
Well, they're not that exciting, and they're very dusty. But this is like Kings of War. If you've not seen it, it's a block battle game. Yeah. So, with the great advantage of it as a system is you don't take off individual models. You take damage on the unit. And what that means is you can base the whole unit and move it as one model.
Oh, nice.
And that's a really attractive system. The thing, and nowadays, time is really a precious commodity. Especially you got to get stuff painted, you got to get stuff done. You've got to work. You've got a child. You've got to eat at some point and sleep. So the things I dislike about games is spending time on rules. I want my battles to last about 2 hours, tops.
Yeah.
And so, like, playing, if you said to me, Mike, I'm over in the UK. Do you fancy having a 2,000-point game against the Orcs? Not unless you got some way of fast rolling them shooters, because it takes a long time to resolve no effect.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of that with shooters, but like. That's what it
or Goths in combat. As I've got 120 attacks to roll. Great, but roll strength 4, AP 0, aren't they? Can we just take 25?
Well, that's one of the things I think I needed to get used to when I first started with Orcs. Is I actually checked how many dice I could hold in one hand if I stacked them. I could get 100 in one hand, and then
and that's not enough.
That's still not enough. And what else did I have to get? I had to get used to being able to take miniatures off by a handful, because beforehand I used to play Space Wolf, so I wasn't used to using 40 miniatures.
5 long fangs or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Back in Tour Dead. Oh my days. Yeah. Right, so what we'll do is we will throw another link into the Discord for the Discord. So if you've done any work in progress, throw it in there and we will jump over and have a look. Marcos saying the War Boss looks sweet. Cheers, Marcos. He is slowly getting there. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just sort of soldiering on. What did Gar say? We're getting there, so we'll jump over. Sci-fi, hear that, lad. Skarnir is making the brews. Oh, I wish, man. Oh, well, we'll be having a brew after this. The one I have in my current cup has slowly died an hour or so ago. Nice cup I got off of Steve-O. He sent it over. Cheers for the cup, mate. My Skarnir mug. Well chuffed with it. It looks miserable.
Are you and Steve-O going to be getting some games here after the lockdown? Is that something that's on the cards?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely on the cards. It's just a case of travel restrictions, having to quarantine, all that mess. When that's all over, it'll definitely be happening. Yeah, I think we've been banging on it about long enough. It's like if it didn't happen, there'd be outrage with subscribers. No, definitely we'll do it. We'll get around to it. It's just a matter of when we're able to at this point. I think we would have done it like this summer if things hadn't gone the way they did. You know what I mean? But sure, it is the way it is. Right, so let's have a look at not YouTube. No. I need. Oh my God! Don't tell me I've made a mess of this already. I'll add in a scene. Hold on. I'll do a display capture and I'll do that one. Hey! So hopefully that's worked now. And we should be looking at the old Discords. And we'll scroll all the way to the top and see who's been doing what.
Because of the delay between what we're talking about and it appearing on YouTube, I'm probably not going to be able to comment on these, am I?
Oh, see, I'm getting ahead. I am. So, I'll wait. We'll get there. We'll slowly get there. As soon as it comes up for you, we'll crack on with them, and we'll get there. I'll keep an eye on the old comments section. Make sure they're all still behaving. So the first thing that we're seeing is Roxy's progress on her Stompa. So there's a building competition between a few members of the 40k orc community. There's been a challenge. The Pale Orc challenged other orc players to scratch build an orc Stompa. So Roxy's thrown her hat into the ring, and I think there's about 9 or 10 people altogether. I know when it gets to 10, that Gear Guts, Kyle, the guy who did my war boss, is going to give some prize support of some kind. I've no idea what, but if you're interested in scratch building a Stompa, I suggest you join in. You'll find it in the Discord in the July Stompa challenge, which is down yonder. Are you able to see the image, Kaiser?
Plastic card, is it?
That is plastic card, yes. Roxy is cracking on with her plastic card, but it doesn't have to be made of plastic card. Other people are making theirs out of packing foam and cardboard from their Amazon orders and God knows what else. So getting creative is not a problem at all, but that is looking nice. I recognise the eye. It looks like one of the pieces.
Bad mech scenery, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like off of the
pipes.
The pipes, yeah, the end cap for the pipes with an eyeball bit in the middle. It's looking good, Roxy. Nice smoke launcher as well. Looking real good. Roxy's Stompa head is awesome. It is awesome. It's cracking. So Roxy is making some absolutely cracking progress. And she also has similar storage to me. I have these sort of plasticky type things. Just pound shops, sort of little anywhere storage. Storage for the storage gods. We have Dim Reaper. He's painting his orky likeness. He is also painting his war boss. While I'm painting mine, he is painting up his. So you can see the progress that he's made. He's doing some solid progress there. Having good crack with the opaque, the game opaques, the Vallejo game colours, the opaques. I haven't tried them yet. Have you tried any of them yourself, Kaiser? Any of the opaque paints for Vallejo?
I'm a big fan of the Vallejo model colours because I do a lot of historical gaming. But in the model colours, I tried. I picked up a few in a hobby shop, something like reds and yellows and so forth. I was like, I'm not a big fan of these compared to the GW ones, to be honest. I much prefer the dropper bottles, obviously, because I'm nobody's fool. But they just don't. I think the term is wet out the way that you would want them to. But maybe maybe I just had a bad experience.
Well, you never know. You know what I mean? Like I've only recently bought some like a Panzer Aces set and game color set myself, so I've yet to give the game color stuff a whirl, but I'll give you my verdict there. We'll see how it's going. I like the basing that he does. He does this is all with brown stuff. This is all sculpted, so it's a bit firmer than green stuff, and then the green stuff beard he's giving it. But it's looking cracking, mate. Good job.
It's like the idea of the finished model being all three of those pieces based. It's like, wow, this is me when I'm assembled later.
Well, yeah, this is it.
Like suiting up type plinths.
Iron Man style. As the plinths rise from the ground, arms attached.
With his arms on, yeah.
We have Gar, who's been working on some grots. So he has his Imperial Guard grots. They're looking good, man. Nice paint jobs. Nice kit bashing. I like teamed units like this. I wonder if he's running them as Imperial Guard proxy units, or is he running them as Gretchen? Which are you running them as, Gar? As proxy units, or are you running them as Gretchen themselves? But there's a nice bit of posing being done. You can see a lot of the green stuff work he's done on the lames as well, even the cut and repose them. I'm seeing some Forge World heads. Mostly saying he's loving the guard style grots as well. Yeah, nice team to them.
They look mean.
Yeah.
they look serious. They don't look right stretching, if you ask me.
Well, yeah,
those guys are allowed to get stuff done.
Exactly. This one here looks like he's primed for a bayonet charge. You know what I mean? He's ready to
I have heard that they're surprisingly dangerous in large numbers.
True, very true. It's almost like they've written a rill for them. Looking good, Jack.
Sometimes Warhammer gets it right, doesn't it? That's the cracking name for that one.
Yeah, yeah. I like the formation name that they give them though, where it was just called Cheeky Zoggers. I'm like, I like that one. Not his Gars, Essex boys. Can't load the pics on Discord. You can't load the pics. Oh no. What else is Gar working on? He has the ever-present cat keeping an eye. As you do. Nice bits of terrain as well. I see a compressor in the corner here. I love when people take pictures like this and you're like, ooh, that's a circle cutter. It's got a compressor. It's like, oh, where did you get these bits from? Ooh.
We're actually doing some update videos during the lockdown, and decided we're working on a segment now, which is about hobby spaces. So that's whenever you catch glimpses of people's hobby spaces, you want to know more, don't you? Thought, why don't we
Yeah.
just have like a 1 minute video every week with our contributors just showing you their hobby space?
Well, yeah. What's it like? What's the mess that Skarnir lives in?
So, some people have tidy ones. I don't get it.
I try. I really do. It just does not last very long. We have Tom with his shark attack gun for his Gargant, hoping to finish for Dice and Demons July Painting Challenge. Also, the stories posted in the lore section. That's true. If you look in the Discord in the lore section, he has
Big
his
shiny balls.
giant shiny balls. Exactly, giant shark attack gun. If you read the lore for the story, it is hilarious. It's pretty much like a Gargant mounted shock attack gun that shoots sharks. Well, you know, hence shark attack gun. What more could you ask for in life?
Mm.
Oh no, people are having trouble uploading to Discord. I don't know why. I've boosted the server, so you should be able to put larger image sizes. But Marcus is willing to help people. If you send them on Facebook, he'll upload them for. I don't know why people are having trouble with loading images. Can click in chat for Discord. Yeah, I'll put up the link again. Try that. See if that works for you, folks. But yeah, nice shark attack gun. I'm liking the lightning effects that he's done on the
Are they all hand painted?
Yeah, that's all hand painted, me. That's
Mate, that's some work.
That is cracking. Absolutely cracking.
You just need it to fire a giant rubber shark now.
That's
like
it.
a matchstick cannon.
And it needs like a Sharknado coming out the end of it or something. Or spring
Sharknado quality.
Sharknado coming out of it. Definitely. I've yet to see that film, but it's notorious enough to know about it.
I think knowing what it's called is all you need to know.
Yeah, it's like the whole film title.
It's a high budget B movie, is what it is, and it's cool for that, but it isn't worth watching.
Oh god, you gotta love it though. But yeah, cracking job, man. Question: what are the T's on the paint pots for? Speaking of looking at people's hobby space, and I'm wondering what these are for. Why is it marked with a T? What's its designated job mostly, Zen? I'll have to watch that movie and write it into the story now. It means Tom's, not Scott's. Oh, you must share a hobby space though. Tom's had to mark his own paints. It's like, now stay away. Has Scott been nicking your paint, Tom? To avoid mixing them up. I get you, yeah.
Which one of you is the messy one that steals other people's paints?
Yeah, which one's the paint stealer? I reckon it's probably going to be Scott. What do you think, Kaiser? If Tom's putting T's on the
if
pots...
Tom's marking it, yeah, it's like, don't use my shit.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. Gar was saying, Bill and Grockard fighting cats for control of my spray box. Oh, that's why the cat was in the spray box. Makes sense now. That looks like either a hamburger or it might be like a slab of cheese. Do you ever see like Baps? That looks good though. That's some really good green stuff for. Nice little mug. Nice little detail. Character detail. I really do enjoy when people do stuff like this. Like even myself, I've been looking at scale modelers doing tarps, Kaiser. and I'm just like the detail it adds to miniatures is just nice. Like,
Oh, definitely, definitely.
but yeah, nice mug and a brew. Ah, I've just twigged it. This mug, that's made from a stick bomb. If you look at the rivets on the side,
With the rivets, yeah,
it's a
yeah.
stick bomb turned upside down and hollowed out. That is genius.
Is it the secret's out now? We're all gonna have one.
Yeah, stick bomb mug. Also sculpting delicious sandwiches and grots. Nice kit bash. A lot of the guard units.
Add some characters to those. It's one of the things that's nice about having things on bigger bases that you can decorate them a bit,
Yeah,
making use of that
give it a bit
space,
of
make it look
character,
living.
bit of narrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looks really good, man. The red mech. He's been working on what looks like wolves. Probably for space wolves, maybe. Are they gonna be spacey wolves? The red mech? Probably space wolves. I reckon someone got influenced by their space wolf half of their Saga of the Beast box set, and it's all gone downhill from there. Nice build up of the cork base. The German stick bombs are the cheapest. They're a steel. Oh my god. Damn, what have I told you about your bad puns? Oh god.
Mm. What are those wolves dancing around? Do you think? What's in the middle?
It looked like it was gonna be for a character,
A
and
fight.
it looks like it's gonna be Ragnar. So
Oh, who doesn't have wolves anymore?
true. They killed him off, didn't they?
I don't know.
I
They
don't.
killed Ragnar, maybe.
Oh yeah, they killed Ragnar, but they brought him back. You know what I mean? And they also killed Gazgul, but they brought him back. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really stay. Uh, I don't really read as much lore as I should do probably these
Oh yeah,
days.
it's Ragnar. It's tennis Ragnar.
Tennis Ragnar. That's it. Serves up. Oh man, that meme was genius. This all look pretty epic. Yeah, Gorka Marcos is working on Gazgul's base, and an old trophy is turning into a statue for a friend. Looks like he's doing some objective terrain as well. Very nice. He got better. He did indeed. They reattached his head. Gazgul is all happy now.
Yeah, you need your head, don't you?
Well, apparently it's sort of key to
I mean,
functioning.
does have a tiny head in the middle of that body somewhere, from what I remember.
It's smaller than the older miniature, which is the
Is it?
hilarious thing. Yeah, it is actually smaller than the older miniature. A lot of people were commenting on that. The older miniature head is bigger.
Now, is that the older miniature or the older miniature?
That is the third edition old miniature I'm talking about, not the second edition older miniature, which looks even smaller again. Or the Rogue Trader miniature, which Gazgul was a conversion that it was based on. No, I'm not talking about them.
Some nice bases there, aren't there?
Very swank. Very nice statues. Looks like someone's going to win an award for Best Basing Award or something. That would be hilarious. Very nice. And then some bashed terrain. Very nice. A few walkie bits. Looks like a Tamiya barrel. I think I have some of them myself. Get some nice bits in like model railroad shops when you look at scale kits. You get some nice bits and pieces if you go looking.
Yeah, and often cheap.
Mm.
Not
Yeah.
always. Some model railway stuff is really expensive.
I think it just depends what you're looking for.
But I like sort of scratching around, like, old model shops, because you've got one guy, in his 90s coughing to death behind the counter in a dusty, smoke-filled room. That's got old bits of scenery that he's had for 30 years and he's selling for £1. It's like, mate, that's where I need to go.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're a dying breed though, aren't they? The old sort of model shops. They're
Yeah.
few and far between. They're They are.
They can't carry the range, can they? You get yourself on Amazon or I mean, I've just done a load of trees for Flames of War, and I'm sold out. I bought cheap trees from China, like 50 for £7, stuff like that.
That's a fair few, all right.
And when you've got 200 little trees on a board in 50 mil, they look good.
Yeah, because it's the same sort of effect with the troops. When
Absolutely.
individually they may not look amazing, but then the detail gets lost in the
In the mass, especially
mass.
when you
Yeah.
sprinkle them with salt for a snowboard. Yeah.
Ah, nice. Very nice. So Brack has been working on his dreads and then terrain. It's been cracking on. Very nice. Some corrugated sheet steel effect going on.
That reminds me of those old strips of plasticine you used to get in
Ah,
blocks. The
yeah,
colourful
yeah, yeah.
strips like that.
And you peel a strip off, wouldn't you? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was corrugated like that, and
Yeah.
those kind of colours.
Oh man.
That's taking me back to being 5 again.
See, nostalgia trip, all in one. What more could you
Yeah.
want?
Oh, the nostalgia stuff is the best stuff. You remember it better than it was.
Ragnar's gotten a base coat while the Pepsi's being drank. Very nice for the red mech. Poke Cactus. Oh my days. He's been cracking on with his stomper. And speaking of Hell's Moving Castle, we can see where this one's been inspired. It's looking really good, Poke. Absolutely cracking job. And I love how rickety and thin the legs are in comparison to the rest of the body. It is looking really good, mate. This will look cracking once he gets the base coat on that, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure.
10 is he really loves it. It's good. Just be careful, Poke, if you're going to spray the undercoat. Make sure you've sealed the styrofoam balls underneath. You don't want it melting. I've had that happen myself.
You don't want your balls melting underneath, mate. That is a fact.
Now, that's never good. No matter the occasion, that's never a good result. Yep, that's his entry for the July Stomper Challenge, and there is the inspiration in case nobody has seen Hell's Moving Castle. It's absolutely cracking. And another one of the Stomper Challenge Stompers has come up. The Pale Orc is building his tracked Stomper, which is, as you can see, mostly made from cardboard and bits and gubbins he's acquired from all over
In
the
the
place.
Mole Engine style.
Yeah. Reminds me of Wall-E a little bit with the tracks. Did you ever see the Pixar film Wall-E?
I'm a bit older than you. I wasn't of an age where that movie appealed to me when it came out.
Ah, I see. It's actually pretty good. But it's like a little recycle robot with tracks like this. Or maybe Ed 209 sort of, wasn't it Ed 2? That's from the 80s, isn't it?
That's the RoboCop one.
Oh, that's right.
Short Circuit, you mean? That was
That's
the
the one.
Wally of the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, the short circuit sort of tracks. Yeah.
Short Circuit, yeah.
I've seen guys making miniatures of them these days, and they're cracking work, Pale Orc. I'm liking the cogs and recycly bits, and the tracks, rather impressive from cardboard. Rather impressive. I wonder if he
Just
plans on
worried that-
counting it in anything to sort of harden it up.
Yeah, that would worry me about something that big made out of cardboard that just collapse. Once you put some paint on it or something, it gets a bit wet.
Yeah.
You want to lacquer on it first.
Yeah, definitely seal it with something. Definitely. Well, cracking work, mate. Absolutely cracking.
Really nice.
And we've Wajilled. I think it's Wajilled. It's Wajilled now. Working on my Warboss Omega armor. Good old Gaz model with black reach head. Ah! Classic conversion. Very nice. Yeah, even that's not a bad head actually to try on the new Gazgul. There's food for thought. There you go. Mega armored Warboss. Old school Gazi. Nice solid colours in there. Liking the skin. Very good.
That Gazgul is resin, isn't he?
It depends. He was fail cast before they finished up with him. I see there's a claw on the back here that's been changed. Very sneaky. He was fail cast near the end, but he was metal from, I think he came out in about 99 was the Armageddon.
Right. I think all Failcast was originally metal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was what it was.
But yeah, it did. That was fail cast near the end. Thankfully, I'd gotten mine before then. Oh, nice. WoW banner conversion. That's a metal WoW banner. Back from the 3rd edition knobs. He's also cracking on with mega knobs as well.
Just
More.
wondering if with the resin one, however horrible it is, whether you could do the last fight with Ragnar type scene.
Oh
But
yeah.
the Ragnar model is metal and in one plane and not dynamic at
Oh
all.
mate. Yeah, because it was that's from like second ed or something, isn't it?
Yeah. It's to do with the way metal is
The
cast.
cast. Yeah.
They can't do the undercuts at all. They just end up with big lumps of metal there.
So they're very flat and one
Yeah,
dimensional. Yeah.
there's still loads of detail on it, but they've got to be flat. Like so many of those models are like sword arm it straight up in the air and pistol held at the chest.
And they're all sort of, if you look from the top of the miniature down, you can see that it's all sort of mostly cast in a single plane.
Yeah.
Dimensionally. Nice work in the mega knobs.
Centrifuge mold.
Mm.
And the wizards are all arms are straight up in the air.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Definitely nice work in the new plastic mega knobs as well. The Pale Orc got some progress done on his spring-loaded punchy arm. You definitely should do a spring-loaded arm, Pale. There should be like some sort of gigantor rocket fist on this. It'll be hilarious. Be absolutely cracking work. I tell you one thing, he's not short in the old glue. Bucket loads of it. Nice.
Got to a lot of PVA with all that cardboard. Oh, it's all super glued. That's pound shop super glue, that right there, I'll bet you.
In large volumes, probably, yeah. Garzinski. But you can get some interesting effect when you put super glue over paper or even cardboard. It's surprising, like, because it soaks in and it hardens. So I suppose that could be one way to go about hardening it up. But that would take an awful lot of super glue to cover that cardboard stump. Oh my god!
I had a horrible super glue failure on we have a desert board for World War II in North Africa, and I wanted to put scatter a few bits of rock on, and so the whole thing is like a mixture of it's undulated with filler and so forth, but then the top layer, the finish on it is a mixture of sand and tile grout, so it goes really hard. But then when I put some super glue on to put some rocks on, it coalesced into balls. Got these spherical balls appeared around the rocks. I was like, oh.
That's weird. So it reacted with the grout or something?
Possibly, but I guess super glue when it comes out, because I didn't think to spread it or whatever. It comes out in a blob and it's quite viscous.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of attracted some of the material to it.
Oh yeah, it drew the material in and then it I get what you're saying now. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like I came back the next morning to look at it, having dried out, and gone, "Oh my god, what happened there?" Fortunately, chiseled it off, got some PVA, and redid it. It was like, yeah, don't use super glue on this stuff.
Give it the proper job. Yeah. PVA is a godsend, man. As long as you don't warp the base materials, you're laughing. Gary thinks he's been working on a death roller. Some very nice detail work. I do know that this is a lot of plastic hard work and scratch building, and It's looking
Well,
good,
that
man.
death roller.
That death
It's
roller
quite
is styrene and
neat.
the rest. Yeah, you'd think it was a kit, wouldn't you?
I just like that. I just couldn't imagine having that much spare time for a death roller.
Dedication to the cause.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's cracking work. Absolutely cracking work. Loving the paint job as well, mate. Really good stuff. That gets a Skarnir seal of approval. And then, of course, the Reaper mucking about with his eye of the beer holder. Having fun. Why purple? I mean, there's nothing wrong with the purple, but I like the work he's done on the eye, on the iris. He's tried to blend in quite a few colours. But it's yeah. This is right up Dim's alley. Terrible puns, miniatures with terrible pun names. Totally his cup of tea.
But he's managed to capture a cartoony style in the way he's painting it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Looks well.
Yeah, very much so. It's very nice. I like it. I like that he's painted the beers different colours, like one's green, one's blue, one's yellow.
And he's ditched the grimy one on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking that, mate.
One's being dropped. One's in the process of being spilled. And the hat. What type of hat is that? The one with the corks hanging from it? It's like an Australian one. Rivets and Decker say that'll do for me, Scar. What, the Skarnir seal of approval? I know. Need to get an actual stamp that is a seal of approval. Hobby Geet is saying the wet blending saves a lack of talent. I don't know, man. It looks good. Doing better than me. Definitely. Very nice. Are you going to paint the individual eyeballs on the end of each tentacle? It'd be interesting to see that done up. You alright there, Kaiser? You still with us?
Still here. Still here.
Still in the land of living. Good man. Good man.
Because I've got the lights in here for filming. So they're like, fake natural light. I'm forgetting how late it is outside. It's still lit like it's mid-afternoon.
I know. They definitely we've run over a little bit. We're nearly finished up, and we'll wrap it up, Kaiser.
Oh no, I wasn't moaning.
No. Oh, sometimes I lose track of time when I'm looking at people's work as well. So
Of course, some great stuff here.
Rivets and Daka was saying, for scale, guys, it's about the size of a tin soup and the same weight when he was talking about his death roller. So, like, think Campbell's soup tin. Stick that on the front of your battle wagon. And the Essex boys has been working on his table. Very nice. A lot of various effects that he's thrown in. Like I said, if you get the chance, go check out his channel. He's got some really good stuff there. His battle reports are nice. He does a decent spread. He's playing a few kill team games with his young fella, Dexter, having tons of fun. Yeah, very nice, man. Very nice. Bits of Chimera and
nice table.
Bridges and nice table. Very nice. He's got a few picks here. I'm loving the ruined Chimera in the middle, and the lava effect looks good. I like the fact that he's got the stone sort of jutting upward instead of just cutting out a channel. Do you know what I mean? Like it's being pushed up. It makes it more dynamic. It looks pretty good.
Yeah. And with anything like that, again, it's back to storage, isn't it? It's like sculpted boards look so much better. But why do you use mats? Because you roll it up and shove it under the bed, mate. That's why you use a mat.
True. But it looks like he's got this in his shed. I'm very jealous. He has a shed to war game in.
Yeah. Well, maybe that just means he doesn't have a car.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Well, if you don't need one, But you know what I'm thinking, Kaiser? These would be great for ramps if you're playing like a game. I could just imagine like orcs on bikes, just sort of like.
Oh, did I have to go that way? Yeah, totally.
Up and
Whether they
over.
needed to get across there or not.
Yeah,
Got to try this.
exactly.
The little rickety bridge in the middle is a really nice touch as well.
Yeah, it's cracking, man.
Yeah, I love stuff like this. I just know it's like, where would I put it?
You start thinking of the practicalities.
Yeah.
Marcus is saying blood axe symbol stab seal of approval. We'll have to work on that, Marcus. We will. Double axe in the middle. Skarnir seal of approval. Nice rickety bridge. Absolutely cracking work. I like that it's mixed as well. He's done a bit of greenery here, and it's not just one tone. He's sort of mixed it in a bit.
Yeah.
In comparison to the other side. Very nice. Cracking job, folks. Absolutely cracking job. Looks like you have kept yourselves busy. Very nice board. Looking forward to seeing battle reports on it, man. Looking forward to it. So yeah, that's what we have for our Discord display. Thanks for sharing, guys. It has been an absolute... what have I done to this now? Display capture, wrong one, this one, next one. Try to get the Kaiser back. I seem to have misplaced the camera.
I think after all of those lovely pictures and models and scenery, I don't know whether going back to me is a great way to end the show.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Bam! Is that working? That's working! Hey!
We're back in business.
We're back in business, Kaiser. You've got the pipe looking sophisticated as always. I have to say, you're always well dressed for the videos. Fair play to you. Just
keeping the British end up, you know.
Keeping the old chin up, good man. Keeping the brew in going. Yeah. Great hobby hangout. Managed to get a bit of work done on the old Warboss skin. It's looking a bit oversaturated with this light, but there is a bit of tone variation in there. And then I think the next thing I'll be doing is cracking on with the power armor. So I've been cracking on with that. It's been a pleasure, Kaiser, having you on.
It's been a pleasure to be here, sir. Enjoyed it. Great hobby updates from all the guys as well. It's always nice to look at that stuff.
Cracking work from the guys. Absolutely cracking work. Thanks for sharing, guys. So it's been a great hangout. Anybody who is not subscribed to Modeling for Advantage channel that the Kaiser helps run, you'll find a link in the description on the video below. I suggest you go down there, click that link and subscribe. And if you manage to not find that, also on my channel you'll find them on the top of the channels that are being that have gotten the Skarnir seal of approval kits that you subscribe to. So get your ass over there and get subscribed and check out the lads over on Modeling for Advantage. Great content. Love watching the shows. It's been great crack.
Because it's not just me. There's a whole bunch of us. Yeah. I'm just the producer.
He's the producer. He's the captain of the ship. And it's a fine ship that is run. Ship shape. Thank you very much. So yeah, great crack. Thanks for coming on. And yeah, we'll be sure to have you on again soon, and I'm sure I'll be tormenting you with something in the future. I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. It's been great fun. Thanks for everyone for hanging out, and thanks to Kaiser for coming on. So it's goodbye from Skarnir.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye, guys. We hit end stream and it is over. Hey!